footer with a remote control for now. It's like somebody in the house and they hide it down the back seat or something like that.
I constantly spend the whole time looking for remote controls.
Why did you take the remote out?
Some people call remote controls funny names.
Moat.
Do you call it moats?
Where's the moat?
The zapper?
The zip. I don't know. I call it the remote control.
Some people call it different things, but anyway, it's it.
Have you got a special name for it? No?
Where is it?
Where is it?
Yeah.
No, it's not funny.
Okay.
Right, can we have a good show?
See you good. Chat tomorrow morning. God bless you, sunshine. All right, it's 9 o'clock. Let's get a news update. And with the very latest news, let's cross over now to Donna Marie Doherty. Good morning, Donna Marie.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A file on the Chrysler explosion has been sent to the Director of Public Prosecutions. This day next week will mark the 3rd anniversary of the tragedy. Alex Riley reports.
10 people were killed in the fatal blast on October 7th, 2022. Throughout the course of the investigation to date, 6 men and 1 woman have been arrested. Announcing the development in the case last night, Gardaí say their victims, their families and the Chrysler community are in their thoughts. Regular family liaison briefing meetings are held, the most recent of which was yesterday evening. Gardaí continue to appeal to anyone with information in relation to the fatal explosion to contact the investigation team at Milford Garda Station. In particular, Gardaí would like to speak to any person that was in the commercial premises at any time prior to the fatal explosion and who may not have spoken formally to An Garda Síochána to date to please come forward.
Donegal County Council has backed a motion for a comprehensive audit of all local quarries proposed by Councillor Joy Beard. The audit would be conducted by the National Building Control and Market Surveillance Office in collaboration with the Geological Survey of Ireland. The move is in response to research confirming the pyrrhotite and framboidal pyrite as the primary causes of concrete failure in Ireland. Councillor Beard has emphasised that the goal is to restore confidence in the supply chain and is not about punishing the industry. The first presidential debate of the campaign saw a heavy focus on the conflict in Gaza. Independent Catherine Conley and Fianna Fáil's Jim Gavin clashed over the importance of retaining the triple lock on overseas deployments, while Heather Humphreys came under pressure over delays in passing the Occupied Territories bills. Conley clashed with Gavin again over his comments that Israel had achieved its military objectives.
The Palestine Authority have been very clear that Hamas will not be part of that new Palestine.
At what point did Israel achieve its military objectives? When 20,000 were dead, when 30,000 were dead? You made the comment. So at what point, in your opinion, was the military objective reached?
If I can come back there, my point was if they were. It's horrific that it happened in the first instance, even more so that we're closing down UNIFIL to protect the people of Lebanon.
Former Republic of Ireland goalkeeper Shay Given has had planning permission rejected for a €4 million state-of-the-art paddle centre of excellence on lands within the grounds of the Club Hotel at Goffs, County Kildare. The Irish Independent reports the land was zoned for equine-related developments. Paddle is an enclosed centre racket sport similar to tennis or squash and has been gaining popularity in recent years. The facility would have contained 9 championship standard indoor paddle courts along with complementary fitness and wellness offerings including a gym and recovery rooms. There was no objections made regarding the planning. Looking now to weather, a dull day with outbreaks of rain or drizzle with mist and hill fog and with highest temperatures of 14 to 16 degrees. That's all for now from the newsroom. Back with more at 10 o'clock.
It could be getting Dad that ride-on lawnmower.
And the shed to put it in. And a greenhouse for your mum's veg.
It could be another 20 acres for them both.
Could be massive hedges trimmed to look like them.
Could be the biggest garden Mayo's ever seen.
Could need a gondola to cross their lake.
The National Lottery. It could be you. Play responsibly, play for fun.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning. It's 4 minutes past 9 and you're very welcome along to the 9 till Noon Show on this, the 30th of September 2025. How are you all keeping? I do hope you're very well indeed, and we look forward to your company over the next 3 hours. Loads coming up on the show, as you can imagine. We have Community Garda Information coming up for you after 10. Our political analysis, Paddy Rooney, is going to be joining us to discuss the presidential debate which took place last night. What did you think? Any interest in it whatsoever? I just felt that there was swathes of the population really that perhaps didn't feel anything was discussed of interest to them, or maybe their views weren't represented. I don't know. What do you think? I'm only throwing that out there, just from some of the commentary I have seen. 10 o'clock at night too. Why did they put these things on so late? Like, why don't you start that at 8 or 9? Why 10? By the time it's over, 11:05. Anyway, it feels a bit late for me. But did you watch it? Are you interested in it? Let me know. 086 60 25,000. There's some coverage of that in the newspapers today. But I'm going to start with the absolutely devastating story from County Louth. The chief suspect for the murder of 3 family members in County Louth told a local after the frenzied knife attack, "I'm sorry for all the screaming and shouting. It's over now." The victims of the attack, which occurred in the Drumgowna area near Tellinstown, have been named as parents Mark and Louise O'Connor, who were in their 50s, and their son Evan, who was in their 20s, or Evan. And they would be well known, not just in their local community, but around the country. There are a number of people that sort of would have engaged them in different spaces that they had interests in. But reading on here, a care worker who regularly called to the family home came upon the horrific scene yesterday morning and raised the alarm. Mark O'Connor was found at the gate of the property in a pool of blood. His son Evan was found lying on the ground at the side of the house, and Ms O'Connor was found in an upstairs room. The suspect, who's 31, also was known to the victims, was detained by armed detectives later around 1 kilometre from the scene. He was just walking along the road. He wasn't running or trying to evade Gardaí, one source said. The suspect's hands were covered in blood, but he'd none of his clothing, leading Gardaí to believe that he changed them following the killing. It's understood that after he left the scene, he approached a local person on the road and said, "I'm sorry for all the screaming and shouting. It's over now." Gardaí are trying to establish a timeline of the incident, but a small, rural, quiet village in County Louth, and such devastation, such loss of life, really hard to believe. On to the Irish Times now, and perhaps maybe the end is in sight for the war in the Middle East, the genocide being inflicted on the people of Gaza. But what's left? At this stage, if the fighting stops, what is left? How do you rebuild from such a devastating scene? How do you recover? How do you recover emotionally with the loss of life and the grief and the bereavement, but the post-traumatic stress? How do you even cope with that? We talk about mental health services in this country or elsewhere, and they need major investment and all. But how do you, a whole nation that has been so traumatized, how do you even begin to rebuild? But we're not there yet, because there's been a few false dawns. But just reading on here, US President Donald Trump announced a sweeping 20-point plan yesterday to bring about an immediate end to the war in Gaza, in an agreement which he hailed as potentially one of the greatest days ever in civilization. The plan replaces international demands for a 2-state solution in favour of an international board of peace to provide transitional governance. The board would include former British Prime Minister Tony Blair, and he chaired by Mr. Trump himself, and be chaired, I beg your pardon. However, as Mr. Trump celebrated the US plan in the company of Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in the White House, uncertainty remained as to whether Hamas will accept the proposals, which offer at best a vague pathway towards eventual 2-state solution for Palestine. But where's the voice of the Palestinian people, though, at this stage? We don't know the level of support Hamas has within the Palestinian people. Is there any sort of mechanism to engage directly with them if you truly want Hamas not to be part of their future? Potentially worrying indications coming from the tourism industry, covered in a lot of the papers today, not least in the Irish Daily Mail. And Ireland's tourism industry is showing signs of trouble across the board, a travel expert has said. New Central Statistics Office data released yesterday shows a €76 million fall in tourist spending in August compared to the same month last year. This is despite the fact that Ireland welcomed 10,000 more visitors this August compared to August 2024. 772,800 tourists visited Ireland last month. Travel commentator with TravelExtra.ie, Owen Curry, told the paper some businesses will struggle to stay in business this winter. He said some businesses could be in a fight for survival in the coming months after struggling to take in enough revenue during the peak season to stay afloat in winter. And it's already happening. We're already seeing closures, restaurants, tourism providers. There does seem to be a trend in that regard. Tourist numbers up, spend down, I think is where the tourists are coming from. Like if you see, for instance, say the American tourism market, with our stance, our political stance, for example, that when I say ours, that maybe the Irish government has taken, sort of, semi-anti-Trump or combative with Trump, 50% of the American population might not see us as a friendly nation to go and visit anymore. We do know that the number of Irish people going to America is down. So I would say, that fractured or tense relationship between the likes of our nation and America is going to affect tourism in both directions, probably not helped by the Ryder Cup at the weekend. So that doesn't surprise me. But every action has a reaction, and I would suggest that the fact that we're so sort of, when I say we, I do mean those that are leading the country. When you have people like Simon Harris referring to President Trump as a gowl, are 50% of the population that voted for Trump going to say, whoa, yippee, let's go to Ireland? Probably not. Some of the papers have coverage of the presidential debate last night. I watched it for research purposes. I probably wouldn't have watched it otherwise, to be completely honest with you. I thought it was I didn't find much in it, to be honest with you, very entertaining. And I have obviously a very big interest in the stuff that they were debating, international affairs and what have you. But I'm also acutely conscious that they have no say in any of this stuff whatsoever. It's just their opinions. Even if they're elected as president, they have no say in it whatsoever. So when I hear them debating some of the stuff they're debating, I'm like, well, Jim Gavin, his opinion on policing or Catherine Connolly's opinion on Donald Trump, like, as I say, they're all valid, but they're running to be president of Ireland, to sit in a big house and get pictures taken with their dogs and go and shake hands with football players. It's an important role, some feel, of course. I'm not saying I don't believe it's important, but I mean, the debate, what are they debating? It's just what they feel about certain things. But anyway, what did you make of it all? Some people are going to be very fond of their candidate and they're going to say, yeah, I think they won. And others are going to be like, well, I'm not interested because none of those three speak to me, or they don't get the things that I'm worried about, or they're not sharing the concerns I have. It's one of those presidential races. But anyway, let's read what the papers have to say about it. The three presidential candidates met in the first debate last night in a cautiously low-key affair. Jim Gavin, Heather Humphreys and Catherine Connolly were asked about immigration, the use of the tricolour, Irish neutrality and the economy during the Virgin Media Tonight Show opener. So I got the impression that, basically they all had the same views on the tricolour. Basically, they all had all the same views on Irish neutrality, but didn't really get deep into the triple lock and how that might affect neutrality, and also kind of similar views on immigration. I didn't think there was a massive chasm between any of them. Independent candidate Connolly said she wanted to shape a new united republic where everyone is valued, where diversity is cherished, and where a home is a fundamental human right. Fine Gael's Humphreys told host Kieran Cudahy she plans to bring her life experience as a credit union manager and her leadership during the 1916 centenary commemorations and the pandemic to the job. And Fianna Fáil's Gavin promised he would be president for every section of society and a voice for all. Galway TD Connolly said she would use her voice for peace if she was president. I did find her comments interesting about how, and I've said it, I'm not taking a side here, but I've said it on this show before, that we have potentially could have had a unique position on the world stage as peacemakers. But there were some interesting questions that I would have liked to have asked her in that debate, because she thought that, we should be, she thought that I'd say I would agree with her, that we should be sort of, neutral to some extent. But I would have been interested then to dig into what her views would have been, say, for instance, on us opening the doors to Ukrainians. Would she feel that was, not being neutral? Should the same then hospitality be awarded to Russian people? Stuff like that, to try and drill in a little bit as to what being completely neutral and being peacemakers actually would entail. But anyway. What do you think of this plan by government? It's in the Sun and elsewhere. Micheál Martin has defended a new plan to offer asylum seekers €10,000 to return home. The Taoiseach said it makes sense to offer people a helping hand if they know their application will be declined. The new measure will only apply to people who applied for asylum before September 28th. Martin said the idea of giving people a helping hand to return or to reintegrate to where they are returned to makes sense to me. At the moment, applicants get €1,200 or a family gets €2,000 to help pay for travel to their home country. But Justice Minister Jim O'Callaghan is increasing this to €10,000 for families and $2,500 for individuals. So, I mean, does that not mean more people would come here, apply, get the 10 grand and then try it on in another European country? Is that not what... Like, I wouldn't try and exploit the system, but if I thought there was 10 grand on offer here, I'd leave. And my motivation was purely financial, right? Okay. I would leave wherever I was coming from, land in Dublin, pick up my €10,000 check, and then hop over to Spain or Portugal or Poland or somewhere. Because it doesn't really say that they have to go, in inverted commas, home. Presumably they could go anywhere. So are we not just going to see loads of people coming over here and collecting 10,000? And when I say loads of people, I mean those that might be trying to exploit the system, which is the minority of people coming to this country, by the way. Finally, the Irish Daily Mail: shortcomings exposed by Munster storms Dara and Eowyn that battered the country have not been addressed, it's been claimed. The Climate Change Advisory Council launched a scathing attack on the government and declared not enough tangible action has been taken to tackle the failures ahead of this year's storms. And there's some suggestion there could be a wee bit of bad weather coming in the weeks ahead. Let's see. Right, that's a run through some of the stories making the papers today. If you've a view on that or anything, by the way, you want to raise your own issue, pass on some information, spread some good news, 086 60 25 000. That's the WhatsApp and the text number. You can send voice notes to that number too if you prefer. Alternatively, call us here at the station 074 91 25 000. We do love to get your calls too. Or email comments@highlandradio.com. And just to remind you, you can watch this show every single day on your smart TV, your Fire Stick. If you're at home, just open the YouTube app and we are there, Highland Radio Ireland. We're across our Facebook pages and on the X platform as well. Right, let's take a break before we say hello this morning to our first guest on the show.
Newspapers are kindly supplied by Cosgrove Centra, Mountaintop Letterkenny. Now with the new look Mountaintop Diner. Keep your car running like new at Shane Connolly Cars, Donegal Town. We service all vehicles, including hybrids and plug-in hybrids, using quality products and the latest diagnostics. Finishing every service with a free car wash. Relax in our waiting room with Wi-Fi, tea and coffee. And ask about our cover car options. Book your service today at Shane Connolly Cars on 9175783.
Discover amazing deals at Floyd's Restaurant, Ballymagori, Strabane. Enjoy a 2-course menu for £19.95 Monday to Friday, Euro for pound night Wednesday and steak night Thursday. Sunday carvery from 12:30 to 3:30. Party packages and function rooms available. Call 02871 382905 to book.
At Hidden Hearing, we believe you should keep hearing it all. Keep dancing. Keep celebrating. Keep laughing. Keep being you. Call 1-800-370-000 or go to hiddenhearing.ie and book a free hearing test today. Hidden Hearing. Your hearing is our expertise.
Crawford Tiles Castlefin final sale of the year. 2-day sale starts Friday 3rd of October and finishing 3 p.m. Saturday October 4th. 20% off all tiles, 10% off bathware and wood flooring. Job lots available. Remember, at Crawford Tiles Castlefin, we've got it covered for you. Call 9143942. Fitters and delivery available.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is
9:19 actually just turned. An increasingly large number of public cancer patients are being denied effective new drugs that are routinely available to those being cared for in private hospitals. Some of the drugs are able to keep people alive and healthy for far longer than what's currently available for public health care. Dr. Michael McCarthy's consultant oncologist at University College Galway. He joins me on the programme now. Doctor, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you for asking me on.
Yeah, this is quite worrying, isn't it? That, if you're a public patient versus a private patient, that your outcomes can be so different.
I guess it is, and this is a new feature of Irish healthcare over the past. This has emerged over the past 3 years or so, and I guess my job as an oncologist, and the job of oncologists across the country is to see people every day who have cancer now, and to use our experience and knowledge of the clinical evidence and international guidelines to advise on what the most appropriate treatment in terms of safety and effectiveness is for this individual patient. And increasingly, the drugs that we would choose for specific patients are available if to the maybe 50% of adults in Ireland who have private healthcare insurance in private hospitals, but they're just not available in public hospitals. There's a kind of a backstory to that, and that when new drugs are developed to treat cancer, it involves the first step is clinical research to demonstrate objectively whether a drug is safe and effective for a given type of cancer. And after that, European regulators review the evidence and look and ensure that the trial was conducted appropriately in accordance with law and all the appropriate regulations are followed. And then European regulators can give a basic approval, kind of assuring that a drug meets a minimum threshold of being safe and effective. From that point, in Ireland, the major insurers certainly have agreed to make all of those drugs available in private hospitals, but there is a reimbursement process in public hospitals that is very important, and it's a very difficult job to do, but it's taking time, and it doesn't consider all drugs that are approved. It considers approximately 50% of them. So for public cancer patients, there's about, and it's difficult to estimate this precisely, but there's about a 2 to 3 year delay from the point that the European regulators approve a drug for 50% of the drugs that are available privately, and for the other 50% of the drugs that are approved and available privately, there's never a reimbursement decision reached. And I guess as things stand, it seems to me that this gap is going to widen into the future, because the pace of change and development of new drugs and advances is accelerating, not slowing down.
So what needs to change then? Is it bureaucracy or red tape or process sort of internally? Is there, is it a slow system, or is there something else going on in terms of purse strings?
It's a very complex question, but I guess in my mind, at the heart of it is that, firstly, when an EMA regulator approves the drug, some drugs are marginally effective, and some drugs are very effective, and these drugs are very expensive. So, for example, in 2012, Ireland spent about approximately 140 million on anti-cancer drugs publicly. And last year, 2024, that rose to about 600 million because of the advances in the drugs that have been made available. And so it's critical that we do have a process that we all agree on, that can carefully vet drugs as they're approved, to allow us to make a reasonable decision as to what the public should pay for these high-cost drugs, to ensure that what we're paying for, we get good value for.
Is there any money being wasted in that perhaps, we are approving moderately effective drugs, as difficult as this is to say, because they might actually benefit some people, and we have, very effective drugs behind them or further down the line? Do we need to be more, obviously, because there has to ultimately be cost control, do we need to be more thorough to ensure that we're investing in, that there's a sort of a bar that's reached that makes it very worthwhile spending public money on, even if that means that maybe we don't invest in moderately or less effective drugs?
this is a very good question, and you've got right to the heart of the issue. And I guess there isn't a right answer. Like there's nobody that can say if we get this amount of benefit, then this is the right price to pay for it. And so, just to give you my opinion, there are some drugs for certain cancer and treatment indications that have been approved that in my practice I discuss with patients, but given the benefit in terms of the benefit in cancer control versus the toxicities of the drugs, although they're approved and reimbursed, that I wouldn't use in my practice. So, but like it's a very difficult question to get this right, and it affects people in real time. And I certainly myself don't have all the answers, but what I do think would be very helpful, or what could improve things, is if we could look at the process and speed up the decision making. So, for example, if the EMA approves a drug, if we could get a fast reimbursement decision in the public sector, within 6 months, let's say, of the EMA approval, then I think insurers would probably come back in behind that process as they had been up until 3 years ago, when they decided the insurers decided to change and make all EMA approved drugs available. Prior to that, insurers predominantly would look at the HSE reimbursement status of a drug and align their decision making with that. And so I think fast, effective decision making, I think, would have a big impact on this whole situation.
Yeah, and if a streamlining or restructuring of that whole process is required, presumably if it's timely, would be beneficial as well. Because I think maybe sometimes if you get medicine that makes you worse or provides hope that really perhaps is false as well, there is a responsibility for us to get that right. It can't all sort of sit on the lap of someone like yourself.
Absolutely, and these are in practice they're difficult decisions to make, and I would add that there's a whole range of staff in the HSE and the NCPE and other groups who wrestle with this question every day of the week, and they deserve our support and help. But I think that as somebody who's seeing cancer patients on a daily basis, it isn't the case that patients can wait 18 months to see if the drug is going to be available or not.
I know, Michael, your focus is very much on the patient, but just to sort of maybe focus on you a little, if you don't mind, in this next question. Like anyone listening here said, anyone who with a diagnosis of cancer, whether they're 38 or 78, it's a tough thing to deal with, and you want to find the best path to prolonging life or curing someone. What's it like for you, who's in the interest of in the business of making people better, to sort of sit with someone knowing that there are drugs out there that if they were a private patient they could get and it would benefit them as best as you can determine sort of in that moment, but them not being available for them, so you have to change your prognosis, you have to change the information you give to them, and it's not just you, it's you and thousands of others across the health service. You can't be immune to that. That must be personally very, very difficult not to be able to give someone the help that they can get up the road if they were a private patient.
Yeah, it is very wearing, but I mean, I guess the reality is that it's the people who have cancer that are the ones who are affected, and I guess that for me, I only work publicly. I don't have a private practice, so for me to have to base my treatment decisions on whether somebody has insurance or not is very difficult. It's embarrassing for me to have to ask a patient directly, do you have private healthcare insurance? And if you do, I'll refer you to a private hospital to get the treatment that I think you should have. And if they say no, then I'll arrange the chemotherapy that is otherwise available in the public sector. So it is wearing, and I think the reason that I am trying to point this out is that it looks to me that if the current status persists, that insurers are going to make all EMA-approved drugs available, and the reimbursement process for public patients is going to stay as it is. Just with the increasing pace of development, I think this is going to get tougher and tougher.
Right. Well, I think it's very difficult for someone like yourself often, though it might be more difficult for more junior colleagues to speak out publicly like this. So I do hope politicians are listening and the public are listening and take on board what you're saying, because this is one of those stories that could affect any of us. And I think it's important that there's maybe an opportunity here for a groundswell of support, either just on the ground or politically, to try and sort this out. But for now, Dr. Michael McCarthy, thank you for your time. I do appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much.
Take care. And Dr. McCarthy is a consultant oncologist at University College Galway, and such is the makeup of our medical care in this country. It's very possible some of you have been under Michael's care there. 08660 25,000. I presume the €10,000 offer was raised on the show yesterday, because I see some messages here. One caller says, I don't think the 10,000 offered to leave the country is going to work. This will cause a tsunami of applications for asylum just to claim the money, go home and then hop on the plane to come back and get another payout under a different name. What kind of people have we got in government? I don't think that's quite a complicated process. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I think it's most likely you might just literally go straight to another country and use that 10 grand to set yourself up there. I'm in Carndonaclonmany area. There's no dentist taking on new patients. I'm not travelling to Letterkenny as it's too far and I don't drive. I don't mind Carndonagh or Buncrana. Please help. Does anyone know of a dentist taking on new clients? Now, I'm not sure if you're public or private or if that matters. In that instance, let us know. 08660 25,000. Can you please make people aware to slow down when going over the Leck Road? People are driving way too fast outside of a creche and there'll be an accident. It's inevitable. There'll be a crash. It won't be an accident, right? Because if you knowingly speed in an area that you shouldn't be speeding, it's not an accident. There's a deliberate element to that. One last one before the break. I have a problem with rats in my back garden. I live in a council estate and the council refused to get pest control in. The oil burner is full of holes now as the rats have gotten into it. I'm worried that the rats will go into the house now too. I live in Ballybofey. The council wouldn't get pest control in as it wasn't covered in the budget. I've paid for pest control myself but would like to be reimbursed. Rats in the back garden. Rats. Ooh, too early for that. For me, but thank you very much indeed. Right, you're texting in on the 10 grand payment. You're texting in on the presidential debate. I'll get to some of those actually after I take our break for 9:30.
Cooney's Home Interior's biggest ever floor clearance sale is now on, with huge savings across all departments, sofas, dining, bedroom. Stock must go to make way for Cooney's largest ever Christmas shop. Sofa sets from $12.99, complete bed from $4.99, table and chairs from $6.99. Thousands of euros to be saved. But hurry, only while stocks last. Cooney's Home Interiors Letterkenny Retail Park open 7 days.
A water conservation order continues to be in place in the Milford area until October 13th to safeguard the water supply for essential purposes. This order follows many months of dry weather, putting the water source under stress. Please do not use a hosepipe or sprinkler and conserve water wherever you can. Together, we can safeguard our water resources. Learn more at water.ie/WCO. Uisce Éireann, delivering water services for Ireland.
Thinking about changing your car? Making the change is easier than ever at Kelly's Toyota, thanks to Toyota Approved Used. Choose from our extensive range of used passenger and commercial vehicles, including 242 and 251 demo models at great prices. Tested and approved by Ireland's most trusted car brand. All our cars come with a 12-month comprehensive warranty with flexible payment options available. Talk to Kelly's Toyota today. Toyota, built for a better world. Terms and conditions apply. At DoorTech Garage Door Systems in Kilmacrennan, we specialise in the supply and installation of all types of industrial roller doors and garage doors. Whether for your home, business or farm, our doors offer the security you need. For premium quality doors, call DoorTech on 91 or visit doortech.ie.
So a caller says, I didn't watch the presidential debate last night. I don't have a clue who to vote for. I don't know enough about any of them. But talking of the programme itself, The Tonight Show I watch is occasionally sometimes quite interesting, but like you, Greg, I think it's on too late. 9 p.m. instead of 10 would be better. 10 p.m. is late if you're getting up early the next day. I think so, yeah. We have a thing here in this country where we do seem to start special programs, like really interesting exposés or investigative programs. They start way, way, way too late. It's like we don't want to upset the soap operas or something. I imagine that's what it's down to between that and football. But anyway, I suppose if you didn't watch, you're not going to know who to vote for. I'm not sure if you'd have learnt too much if you did. But anyway, Greg, it was a terrible debate. Jim Gavin is just like Micheál Martin, goes on the same way. I hope he's not elected. Could not be doing with a second Micheál Martin on now. Right, okay. I'm joined on the programme now by Deputy Ruairí Ó Murchú, and we're talking in the context of this awful tragedy in County Louth. Ruairí, I'm sorry to be speaking to you about this this morning. It's just absolutely heartbreaking, and that heartbreak and shock is being felt right across the country, far, far, far from Louth. So I can only imagine what it must feel like in that small rural community.
Yeah, look, you can only call this absolute devastation. People are still sending me messages today and they're asking questions just on the basis here. Nobody can understand this. Look, obviously our thoughts go out to the family. You can't imagine what they have gone through. And look, they've been named. It's Mark O'Connor, it's Louise, his wife, and obviously their son Evan, and anybody who has spoken to anybody that knows them realised that they were a really, really good family, really, really nice people. Myself and Councillor Pearson Gio were actually out in Talonstown doing an interview, and a number of locals came over who knew them very, very well, and they spoke about their it was a number of ladies and their very close relationship with Louise. And again, their big fear was some of, I suppose, the misinformation. They were probably afraid that even people talking to the media, that, they wouldn't say anything that would be in any way, painful, to put pain on what is already devastating pain. So I would ask people to refrain from some of the speculation that went on, particularly online, and to be very, very careful. Now, the one thing that you can say about rural communities in Ireland and in that part of Mid-Louth, around Drumgownagh, where it almost touches the Monaghan border, you will have a huge level of resilience. You will have a huge level of the community, coming together. Now, I have no doubt there will be people that will need a huge level of support. We need to make sure that that's obviously provided. And anybody that is feeling, really bad on the basis of what has happened and needs added support needs to make sure that they contact myself or somebody else, statutory agencies, from a point of view of getting that. But look, as I say, this is utterly devastating for the community. And anybody who's even, read some of the pieces there in the public domain, because I would have said I wasn't sure that I knew this family, but actually a lot of people would know Mark O'Connor as a runner. He would run with Northeast Runners. He was actually a really, really accomplished runner. He's spoken to a number of Oireachtas committees. He was actually, he was the community engagement officer for Inclusion Ireland. And such is the strange world we're in. I actually did a meeting yesterday with Inclusion Ireland, just before this terrible news came out. I was then at a further meeting in the council, and suddenly the RTE news notification came up, and it said Talonstown, and it said 3 dead, and you had to look at it a couple of times. You said, surely I'm misreading this. I'm not getting this right. You look at the part of the world, and it just does not compute. That this particular circumstance happened, and we're talking about within a family unit. It's like incredibly difficult to comprehend. Now, as I say, the only positive is the fact that obviously there isn't a wider public danger, and that the community and those that were very close to the family are obviously, I have no doubt, are already being very supportive. And I can't imagine what, as I say, how the wider family are going to deal with this. But again, whatever supports, even the minimal ones sometimes that elected reps like myself or others, I have no doubt that people will do all that they can, just given how desperate a circumstance this is.
Unbelievable, it really
and
is.
I would also say, And obviously, anyone with any information, first and foremost, they have to give that information to the Gardaí. We don't need online speculation. I think at a later stage, we will be talking about the need for regulation in relation to social media and some of the stuff that actually is put up and causes great pain and sometimes is absolute wrong and, you know, disinformation and misinformation and can cause huge hardship. But again, that's for another day.
Okay.
At this point in time, I would ask anybody to desist from that sort of speculation, anyone with information to provide it with the Gardaí. And look, unfortunately, Drumgownagh, and as I say, you're talking about a part of the world where Killarney, Stonetown, Talonstown and Louth Village, you know, almost all come together. And it's a really, really, really nice part of the world. It's, as I say, no one would be expecting this, but they are now awaiting what is going to be an absolutely traumatic, you know, funeral experience.
Okay.
And look, we need the guards to follow through in relation to this. And again, if like all circumstances, we need to look into the ins and outs of it. But at this point, my thoughts are with the family and with the community. And as I say, I have no doubt, because I've already seen it, of the resilience of the wider community, and that those supports that are required will happen. And then we need to make sure that anyone that requires, be it counselling or whatever else, that is provided by statutory services and others, that is put in place as soon as possible.
Okay, listen, thank you very much for your time this morning. Deputy Rory O'Murrough speaking to us there. Katie Tyrrell McCafferty, who you'll be familiar with, I'd imagine, was very familiar with or knew of Mark, who very sadly was one of the victims of this horrendous killing. Katie, thanks for joining us. How did you know Mark?
So, Evan, Mark's son, was autistic, and there's a lot of families that have benefited from the work that Mark and Louise did in that area. They started up the first autism-specific school. Evan was pupil number 2, but in the first intake, and then Mark went to work for Inclusion Ireland, and then after that in the National Advocacy Service. And I would have met Mark because he was a parent of a child with autism, and I'd met Mark on a number of occasions. I would have considered Mark a friend and an advisor. I was actually looking back through old messages last night. I am absolutely devastated.
They seem to be a wonderful family. I'm hearing amazing things about Louise also in terms of fundraising and what have you, but also, you know, whilst the community who are campaigning for children or adults for that matter with additional needs is vast, it's also very tightly knit as well.
Yes, it is vast and it is tightly knit. You know, a lot of people would have seen this story appear once on their timeline last night. I saw it hundreds of times. Each of us having a personal connection with Mark. Mark was actually in Letterkenny a few times. He did, you know, seminars and stuff. Often used to watch Mark on the Oireachtas TV. He used to say, "I've got the suit on. I'm going to be on telly today." But there's other things I want to talk about Mark. Mark was a passionate Liverpool fan. Loved his music. Absolutely loved his music, and my God, was he a marathon runner. This year he actually he got one of his dreams and he ran the Boston Marathon. It was something that he'd always wanted to do. During lockdown he ran virtual marathons on a running machine, and used that opportunity to do fundraising as well. Him and Louise celebrated 33 years of marriage in September, and you could tell that they were still just mad about each other. The other thing that Mark did was Evan really liked dogs. Okay, so every weekend they would go out and they would volunteer at a local shelter and walk dogs, but eventually they fell in love with Ruby, and Ruby came home to live with them. And Mark used to post funny stories about his co-worker and how useless his co-worker was while he was tapping away working from home. So Mark had many strings to his bow, but his greatest love was his family. I mean, it really, really was. And we were a lot better off having Mark O'Connor on this planet and what he did for people and reached out and, great sense of humour, brilliant sense of humour. It's the community is devastated today.
And of course, it's not.
It's really devastated.
As bad as the loss is from people that were so well loved. What I can't get my head around, or even maybe try not to, is the violent nature of their deaths, which makes it even more difficult
can't
to
even take myself there. Who witnessed what? I just can't even take myself to that place because it is just so heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's too difficult.
So heartbreaking. And, and I obviously I've just caught the tail end of what the TD said. Please don't speculate online about what happened. Please don't do this in Mark's name. The usual suspects were blamed at first, and that's not Mark O'Connor, just leave the speculation and just.
Do you know? Just on that point, Katie, I sort of disengaged with certain social media platforms, and I'm pleased that I've no idea what either you or the deputy is referencing, and maybe we could all sort of take a leaf out of that book, because I'm not in that space where that stuff can be just chucked out there any longer, and I'm just simply not exposed by it because it is easily avoidable. But it's very important it's addressed as well, Katie. Listen, sorry for the loss of your friend, and given I think the reach of Mark and Louise, a lot of people all over the country will be feeling the same sense of a local loss, if I can put it to you like that. This is not just a tragedy.
Absolutely,
affecting
our
Louth.
community is devastated.
Yeah, okay.
It is devastated,
their beautiful son as well too. Such a happy young lad, at least in the pictures
you'll
I've
not
seen
find
of
a
him.
picture of Evan where he's not. You'll not find a picture of Evan where he's not smiling, and that's the work that his parents put in, from a very, very young age, and not just Evan benefited from that, but a big community of people that have benefited from that. Because of that, Mark went and did a degree very late in life, he wasn't in his 20s when he got a degree. He got his degree about 15 years ago so that he could advocate for other people. But Mark O'Connor and Louise were very, very special people. Very special people. And
I'm sure they'll be remembered as such.
Today,
and that's how
our
we have
community is devastated.
That's how we have to try and remember people, because the other element of it's
Absolutely.
unimaginable. Katie, listen, thanks for helping us to get to know Mark and his family and remembering them so fondly. We do appreciate it. Thanks, Katie. That's Katie Tyrrell McCafferty, and Katie's one of many, many people who would have known Mark through the various works that he did, but both he and Louise and their son Evan, because of sort of campaigning, fundraising, advocacy, etc. And the advocacy part of it is huge as well.
Get our best ever bundle now in the Virgin Media Playhouse. Watch your favorite TV shows, live sports, catch-up TV, and access all the apps you love to binge. Powered by our super-fast, reliable broadband. Bundled together for just €45 a month, price locked for 12 months. Guaranteed. For more great offers, see virginmedia.ie. Virgin Media. It's playtime.
Subject to location and availability. New customers only. 12-month contract. €90 after offer price. Separate subscription required for streaming apps. T's and C's apply. See virginmedia.ie.
Hi, Kiva here from Barry Brown Cars. Right now, you can get behind the wheel of a brand new 252 Suzuki with 0% finance and a 10-year warranty, giving you a whole decade of confidence on the road. Visit Barry Brown Cars in Milford or Donegal Town today and discover how you can drive away with 10 years of worry-free motoring.
You want a little treat but not chocolate or gelato? Check out this coffee that we made called Bravado. Sip and sip it slowly, or if you're in a rush, it tastes as good on foot or while you wait for the bus. Deliciously different. Get your new favorite cup. If you want some roasted goodness, come hit us up. Your taste buds have voted. They want a flavor that's goated. They are ready to thrive. Now Bravado's arrived. Deliciously different. Find your nearest store at bravado.com.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhenney's. With new season styles arriving daily, discover the latest fashion, footwear and accessories for autumn in store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
So a dull day today with outbreaks of rain and drizzle, mist and hill fog. The rain will turn more persistent this evening. Highest temperatures 14 to 16 degrees. Now you might remember back in July we spoke to Anne-Marie E. Icky, who's principal of Skull and Angle Hivedy in Kedu, and Anne-Marie's back with us. They were offering a €2,000 bursary for 3 junior infant students to try and boost numbers in order to save the school. So just remind us, Anne-Marie, good morning to you again, remind us of the campaign.
Good morning, Greg. So we started the campaign back in June, and it was to entice new students into the school. And as the summer went on, we didn't get anyone for the bursaries. Initially, we had offered a €2,000 bursary, and then we had a donation from a man in New York who had been listening to me on Radio Gaeltacht till one day, and he started learning Irish himself, and he decided he wanted to help the school. So he donated $5,000 to help. So with this, we were able to up the bursaries to $3,000 each. And the deadline was coming closer there, because today actually is the deadline for the numbers on the roll for the Department of Education. So whatever numbers you have on the roll today will dictate what your numbers will be for your teachers next year. So we were able to entice 5 new students to the school only last week, and they started with us. So we're delighted.
Yeah, and that means the school can remain open as well. What is it just about the school remaining open, or what do these enrolments mean more broadly?
Yeah, well, the school would have remained open with 1 teacher. You basically have to have 11 kids on your roll to retain your second teacher. Now, we had dropped below that because we were only at 9 children. So now with having 14 on our roll, that means we can keep our second teacher. Now, we didn't want to drop to a 1-teacher school because we realised the implications that come with that. There's not many parents that would like to send their kids to a 1-teacher school, because evidently it means they'll have the same teacher for their whole schooling here in primary school.
Did me no harm, but yeah, of course,
Yeah.
it's not ideal.
Yeah, I think parental
Of course,
choice, the majority.
As well as that, we're also 40 years on. Obviously, this is good news, and I don't want to be in any way negative at all, but is this sustainable, right? So this has kept the wolf from the door, so to speak. Do you envisage, further problems down the line, or can this be the catalyst to something else, if you know what I mean?
But we realise that haven't solved our problem. It's just kind of given us a bit of breathing space for another couple of years. We don't have anybody leaving the school now in Rangishay next year in June. So it's given us, as I say, a bit of breathing space to work on trying to up our enrolments. We have been struggling for a while, and we've been trying to seek support from wherever we can, but we've realised we're kind of on our own with this. We're not being given a lot of support, so it's something that we as a school and board of management have had to address ourselves and try and make people aware of the advantages that come with Táimidteas and with learning the 2 languages.
Yeah, but we saw recent protests in Dublin about the language and its decline, and sort of the level of commitment in keeping it as active as it is. you know, that's what yous are doing on the ground, but you shouldn't be sort of doing it on your own either. If we're serious about sort of addressing any decline or promoting the use of language or increasing the possibility of people living in the Gaeltacht areas, for an example, it actually is going to take some sort of a national policy, a strategy. We can't have, because if yous didn't have the will, the school goes, right? And then what's the consequences of that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this scheme called the Scheme Ahantas was introduced back in 2017 by the Department of Education to address, you know, trying to promote Irish within schools. But now, and that's what we did. You know, we took that jump and changed to Tomajahas. But now, because we're struggling with numbers, there's no support there for us. We're left on our own solely with this, you know.
Yeah, but as you say, at least now you do have some breathing space, and we don't know what might happen over the next wee while. All right, listen, good news. Thanks, Anne-Marie.
Okay, thanks, Greg.
Take care of yourself. That is Anne-Marie Icky there, Principal of Skull and Angle Hividi in Cadu, and some good news. But it is kind of only down to their will and determination and their vision and generosity of people as well that they're able to do that. That's not sustainable. If we want to maintain our schools, our language, the population in certain areas, it's going to take a policy rather than sort of, you know, the excellent work of individuals. You as individuals have been messaging in. We really do appreciate it, as you know. Just to remind you, by the way, coming up after 10, we've got this week's instalment of Community Garda Information. That's the very latest appeals and information first here on the 9 till noon show. Also, by the way, if, you know, there's a recruitment drive going on at the moment, maybe it could be you or someone in your family, maybe a younger person. We have a recent, what do you call them? When someone's just been in the Guards, not a recruit, it's recent graduate from Templemore, I suppose you could say that. In studio, we'll get a sense of how it's going for them. A caller says that wasn't a really good debate. They knew what they were going to be asked, so had all the answers ready. When Catherine Connolly questioned Gavin, he was lost for words. Also, Gavin is getting more like Micheál Martin every day. All three want more Gardaí, which is probably right, but until we get them, why not put soldiers on the street? After all, they're being paid for doing nothing. Well, soldiers do plenty, by the way, but also, if you're watching it, you would see the terms and conditions for soldiers is a big issue as well. Of course, we don't need a president for observation, but at the same time, a president can't fix the problems that we're talking about. Jim Gavin's interesting. I don't mean this in a way disparaging, but I glanced at the TV and it looked like another world leader briefly, but I don't mean that in any way disrespectful or what have you. The debate last night would put me off voting Jim. He never stopped with his hands like Micheál Martin, but I know what you're saying, and in some political circles, this hand gesture, I think it's to avoid pointing, but it helps to make your point. But yeah, okay. It'll be interesting to see how it goes from here. Right, but it's also, he went straight after Deputy Connolly straight away, so you could see where maybe he thought, or his advisors thought, they needed to land a few punches, because he went straight after her out of the gates, but she held her own too. All right, back after the news. Stay where you are. I'm dreaming of you.
It's Patrick Feeney here, and I'm looking forward to the Highland Radio Country Music Weekend at the Clanry Hotel in Letterkenny this October the 31st and November the 1st. I'll be on stage along with Michael English, David James, Stacey Breen and Jordan McFadden. It's going to be 2 fantastic nights of music and dancing, but spaces are filling fast, so book now at theclanryhotel.com or highlandradio.com.
Ocean Tiles and Bathrooms Pennyburn Derry stock clearance sale. Save big on vanity units, taps, mirrors, radiators and more. Enjoy up to 40% off My Life and as much as 60% off Crosswater. Starts Monday 29th of September 9 a.m. and Saturday 4th of October 1 p.m. Don't miss these massive savings at Ocean Tiles and Bathrooms Pennyburn Derry.
Agus inis seocha go bhréamhásnéis na Hampshire. Is léir go bhfuil go leor gaotha agus neart gréine an andún, agus léonn de gala go gan tamil fada gealta d'éireann.
In Airgrid, támadigh túir tauchaí inmhúnathe le fuinneamh inmhúnathe. Tá uaschrádó a dhéanamh agan ar an angach leictreachais anas gur féidir le gach teilech, gnó agus pobl tarlafe a bhaint teistí. Tá éire á cuachtú agan. Fólam níos mó ag airgrid.ie.
When the time comes, the last thing you want is for your family to worry about funeral costs. That's why On Post Insurance offers funeral insurance for those aged 50 to 75. A simple way to help ease the burden for the people you care about most. Take a moment today to plan ahead. Call 0818 22 22 22 or visit onpostinsurance.ie. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. One Direct Ireland Limited, trading as On Post Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. One Direct Ireland Limited is a wholly owned subsidiary of On Post. Funeral insurance is underwritten and provided by New Ireland Assurance Company plc. On Post Insurance is a tied agent of New Ireland Assurance Company plc for life assurance business.
Donegal Suffolk Sheep Breeders show and sale of over 50 SAS approved ram lambs takes place this Friday 3rd of October in Rafo Mart. Selection of females also available. Show at 6, sale at 7. Online bidding via martbids.ie. That's this Friday at Rafo Mart.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donal Kavanagh at the news desk. A file on the Chrysler explosion has been sent to the Director of Public Prosecutions. This day week will mark the 3rd anniversary of the tragedy. With more, here's Alex Rowley.
10 people were killed in the fatal blast on October 7th, 2022. Throughout the course of the investigation to date, 6 men and 1 woman have been arrested. Announcing the development in the case last night, Gardaí say their victims, their families and the Chrysler community are in their thoughts. Regular family liaison briefing meetings are held, the most recent of which was yesterday evening. Gardaí continue to appeal to anyone with information in relation to the fatal explosion to contact the investigation team at Milford Garda Station. In particular, Gardaí would like to speak to any person that was in the commercial premises at any time prior to the fatal explosion and who may not have spoken formally to An Garda Síochána to date to please come forward.
Donegal County Council has backed a motion for a comprehensive audit of all local quarries. It was proposed by Councillor Joy Beard. The audit would be conducted by the National Building Control and Market Surveillance Office in collaboration with the Geological Survey of Ireland. The move is in response to research confirming pyrrhotite and framboidal pyrite as primary causes of concrete failure in Ireland. Councillor Beard emphasised the goal is to restore confidence in the supply chain and not to punish the industry. An audit was carried out a number of years ago, but Joy Beard says that very quickly became outdated.
There was a market surveillance audit of Donegal quarries which was published in 2022 and it looked at 17 operators in the county, but the testing was limited. In fact, only 3 quarries had aggregate properly tested in the lab. The rest were mostly checked on paperwork. We're still, that audit admitted that deleterious materials like pyrrhotite were outside of its scope, yet as we know now from government-funded scientific research that pyrrhotite and framboidal pyrite are the main cause of concern.
Former Ireland goalkeeper Shay Given has had planning permission rejected for a €4 million state-of-the-art paddle centre of excellence on grounds within the Club Hotel at Goffs in County Kildare. The Irish Independent reports the land was zoned for equine-related developments. Paddle is an enclosed centre racket sport similar to tennis and squash and has been gaining popularity in recent years. The facility would have contained 9 championship standard indoor paddle courts along with complementary fitness and wellness offers, including a gym and recovery rooms. There were no objections made regarding the planning application. The presidential campaign teams will be analysing today how their candidates performed in the first televised debate last night. There was a focus on the conflict in Gaza, with the triple lock on overseas deployment and the Occupied Territories Bill also featuring. Crime in Dublin and housing were also discussed as Independent Catherine Connolly, Fianna Fáil's Jim Gavin and Fine Gael's Heather Humphreys debated with each other for the first time. Political correspondent Sean Defoe says we've still yet to see a major issue ignite the campaign.
I think Gaza is going to be a big topic in this because the president is an ambassador, and I think that's where it comes from. But in terms of one big issue that's igniting under any of these, if it's going to come, we haven't seen it yet.
Well, the Taoiseach has welcomed the latest initiative to end the conflict in Gaza. His comments come as Donald Trump outlined a 20-point plan to end war in the region. The proposal would involve setting up an international oversight body to govern the enclave, which President Trump would lead. The former British Prime Minister Tony Blair would also be expected to play a role. Simon Harris says there is a chance to silence the guns, secure the release of hostages and get vitally needed humanitarian aid into Gaza.
I really believe this is a moment that must be grasped. No peace plan is ever perfect, but a peace plan is required. Something that will stop the bombings, stop the killings, stop the starvation, release the hostages and provide a pathway for the Palestinian people to have their own state.
And new lending limits for credit unions come into effect today. The central bank is increasing the home and business lending capacity of credit unions by €6.6 billion. Home loan limits are going up by 30% of total assets, while it's 15% increase for businesses. There'll also be no need for a business plan for loans of more than €25,000. Well, the forecast dull today with outbreaks of rain or drizzle, mist and hill fog. The rain will turn persistent towards evening. Top temperatures 14 to 16 degrees Celsius with a light to moderate southerly wind, freshening in the west in the evening. Cloudy with mist and hill fog tonight, wet at first with widespread rain. That'll move northwards, becoming lighter and patchier by morning. Lowest overnight temperatures 13 or 14 degrees Celsius in a moderate to fresh southerly breeze. Cloudy with outbreaks of rain and drizzle tomorrow, becoming mainly confined to western parts through the day. Top temperatures on Wednesday 15 to 17 degrees Celsius in a moderate to fresh southerly breeze. That's Highland Radio News. Back with more at 11 o'clock. Check all the day's news on highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning.
The obituary notices this Tuesday morning, September 30th. The death has taken place of Don Daniel Carroll, Sessionneil, Ballybuffet. Remains reposing at his late residence today until 6 o'clock. Funeral leaving his late residence on Thursday at 10:30 for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Sessionneil at 11 o'clock. Interment in the adjoining churchyard. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish YouTube channel. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if so desired to Medical 2 Ward, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member. Family time from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral, please. The death has taken place of Philip Brogan, Balladerg, Mountaintop, Letterkenny. Philip's remains will be reposing at his late residence today and tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. with rosary both nights at 9 o'clock. Funeral from there on Thursday at 10:15, going to St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny for 11 a.m. Requiem Mass, which can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Interment afterwards in Conwall Cemetery, Letterkenny. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to Friends of Letterkenny Hospital, care of any family member. The death has occurred of Colm Devine, 52, Ballycolman Road, Strabane, reposing at the family home today from 11 o'clock. Funeral from the family home on Thursday morning at 9:20 for Requiem Mass at 10 o'clock in St Mary's Church, Melmount. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. Family time please from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. Family flowers only please. The death has taken place at Brentwood Manor Nursing Home Convoy of Gerald Moore. His remains will repose at the home of his sister Yvonne and her husband Billy Smith, Churchtown, Carrigans today from 11 a.m. until 10 p.m. Funeral leaving there tomorrow at 1:15 for 2 p.m. service of Thanksgiving in All Saints Parish Church, Newton Cunningham, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to the staff of Brentwood Manor Nursing Home, care of Terence McClintock, Funeral Director. The death has taken place of George Hayes, Clonelly, Quigley's Point. George's remains are reposing at his home. Funeral from there this morning at 10:20 for 11 o'clock funeral service in St Columba's Church, Drung, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member or Eamon McLaughlin, Funeral Director. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
If you're going through a difficult time, you're not alone. There are now more mental health support services available for men. These include free counselling sessions, in person or online, as well as confidential phone support, available 7 days a week. Getting support can make a real difference to you and your loved ones. To find out more about the full range of free services available, visit yourmentalhealth.ie/men. From the HSE.
Text or WhatsApp your view to Greg on 086 60 25,000.
And of course, you can give us a call as well on 07491 25000 or email as well, comments at highlandradio.com. Coming up shortly, we've got this week's Community Garda Information slot for you. We're also going to have a new recruit to An Garda Síochána, having done the 9 odd months in Templemore. It's a local person, and maybe if you've got someone in your life that's thinking about it, because there is a recruitment campaign going on at the moment, we'll get a sense of what it's like, and maybe you can play it back to them if they're not listening. Right, some more of your comments coming in. In relation to last night's debate, it was boring, not helped by the presenter. He didn't really deliver any punches to them, wasn't inspired to vote for any of them. Heather Humphreys, a true politician, sat back and let the conversation go around her. Jim Gavin's answers were rehearsed and lost himself if he went off script at all. The only one with a glimmer of a chance of getting my vote was Catherine Connolly. Another, the debate last night was brutal. Nobody answered the questions. No enthusiasm, no vision, dead. None offered hope. We get enough of the dreary politics from the politicians. We need and we won't get a president who will offer hope, inspire us as a people to dream more, to become more, to achieve more. Someone who knows our roots and can stand tall and lift up our heads to a horizon of hope and celebrate what we are and what we can become. They are dead, and the politicians have limited our horizons by giving us only their choice of candidates, which is sadly so bad. It's depressing again, and it's not to wave a flag for anyone in particular, but Catherine Connolly is an independent whom parties have come behind. Hi, Greg. The €10,000 payment is only available to people already in the system before the 28th of September, so anyone arriving in the future would not be eligible. Very good point. And I read that out loud in the story, but still went on to suggest that it could be abused. So thank you very much for pulling me up on that and for that clarification. A caller says, tourism is down around the world. Shocker when everyone's skint. They can't afford to go on holiday. Nothing to do with us giving out about the orangutan, as they mentioned. His approval rating in the States is under 20% now. I really do believe that obviously people are skint, but there's lots of people with lots of money. And I do feel that, especially with a bit of nationalism that's going on around the world, that there are certain countries, certain other countries sort of are less inclined to go and visit, even if they have money. I genuinely believe that's the case, but I could be wrong, of course. I have been many times before. Near 2 weeks now since a boil notice from Loch Anna, Glentee's water supply that covers a big area, Ardra and surrounding areas. This is going on too long. Also, the whole system needs to be flushed out, as this needs to be done at all to scour valves. I don't know the ins and outs of how you might cleanse that system. We'll do an update and see if Irish Water have any further timeline for that boil notice to be lifted. Often it's just like on a Thursday evening or something, the boil notice is lifted. There doesn't often be a big lead in. Greg, would you please ask whoever or whatever group placed an oversized Hurley on the Dry Arch roundabout monument to remove it, as it's an eyesore? I'm all in favour of local communities showing support for their local teams, but defacing a public artwork is not on. Visitors like to photograph this iconic landmark, and the Hurley just destroys the image. I'm sure Letterkenny Tidy Towns Committee are not too pleased about this either. I haven't seen it. If anyone's got a picture of it, send it in. I mean, obviously art and how things are presented is very subjective. So this listener might think that this is not pleasant. Others might think that it makes the picture even better because, you know, you've got this icon, you're in Ireland, you've got this big Hurley stick. I don't know. What do you think? 086 60 25,000. A caller says, my children love the Irish language. They come home every day and teach me. Isn't that fantastic? Great. Another, I think that the Irish language has never been in a better position. We have resources online and in person to help you learn. People are using the Cúpla Focal all the time, which really helps the language move forward. But unfortunately, its use is in decline. And unfortunately, you know, we've got record numbers, 60,000 odd students now opting out of learning Irish. So whilst, you know, the perception might be in pockets or in your life that, you know, it's never been as strong, the reality is that we can see sort of the bigger picture whereby there are issues. A caller said, should we make the language optional? We would have a lot more interest in it. Children feel pressured into Irish and that leads to frustration. Okay, thanks very much for that. An email here. Hi, in relation to phones for kids, my child started secondary school this year. We've decided not to give our kids phones. A child is coming home saying she could not take part in research in class because she didn't have a phone. She had a maths test and other kids could use their school app for notes and she had nothing to help. She has to access work via school apps, etc. I'm finding it hard to maintain our no phone rule. I'm not against online research during school, etc., but I believe that the school needs to provide protected devices for kids to use and not phones. I don't want to come... I get you. I mean, it's a tricky one because it's very hard to take some sort of a stand in this day and age. You can set a phone up whereby there's limited access in terms of only safe searching and only the apps that this child needs. So you have the option there to, and it doesn't have to be a very modern phone either. You know, you can use one of the old phones of yours if you have one. So you can set up a device that would allow your child to access stuff like this, but not have TikTok, Instagram, etc., and also have safe search set up on the internet. So it is possible. It is possible, and that's, you can have some of the services of the phone without the child still having a phone. So it doesn't have to be all or nothing, if you know what I mean. Knife crime, a caller says, what's going on in Ireland in recent years? Knife crime has become the norm. It happens on a daily basis. Mental problems seem to be blamed in many cases, or is it just a way of trying to excuse what these people... I don't know what you're referencing there. We are seeing knives pop up more and more. It's not a Dublin thing. I did note a recent case where someone saw someone brandishing a knife in a park in Letterkenny. There was also reports of knives being brandished on the main street in Letterkenny. I'm not saying it's exclusive to Letterkenny, but knife crime, the use of knives, is an issue. That being said, the Garda statistics would indicate that knife crime is actually going the other direction, but I think people might have a distrust of those statistics. Someone mentioned about speeding on the Leck Road, which is in Letterkenny, Caroline, isn't that right? Yeah, it is. I'm a resident in Leck. People speed on the roads. The council needs to get involved and install ramps for safety. It's like talking to a wall. People won't slow down unless they're forced to do so. Staying with the roads, just on the Leck Road at the creche, maybe the drivers dropping the children off and picking them up would stop doing U-turns on the road. Okay. Let's not row. Right, let me see. Government spending, some on that there. I'll get to that in a mo. Some are fresh, some are carried over from a busy show yesterday. Stay with us, though, because I do want to get to Community Garda Information. That is coming up just around this adversarial or this advert corner.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday, September 30th. Playing on a brown sheet. Reference number is S17. It's week 40. Today's numbers are 75, 31, 4, 35, 76, 73, 61, 87, 52, and 21. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Looking for somewhere special to relax and enjoy great food? Come to the Isis Centre and Celtic Prayer Garden, F93 F104. Every Friday it's Fish and Chip Friday, fresh and delicious. Now opened on Saturdays. Enjoy our all-day breakfasts, the perfect way to catch up with friends. And don't forget our full menu and daily specials served all week. We also cater for groups of any size, so why not come and spend the day with us? Call 07493 84866. The Isis Centre, Island of Saints and Scholars.
Are you completing your UCAS application? CAFRE offers degree courses in food, agriculture, equine and horticulture. Come along to CAFRE's October Open Days. Talk to students, meet staff and explore the practical facilities at Northern Ireland's specialist agri-food and land-based college. Book now to attend an open day at Greenmount Campus, Enniskillen Campus and Loughry Campus. Register online at cafre.ac.uk or visit Discover CAFRE on Facebook.
Thinking about changing your car? Making the change is easier than ever at Kelly's Toyota, thanks to Toyota Approved Used. Choose from our extensive range of used passenger and commercial vehicles, including 242 and 251 demo models at great prices. Tested and approved by Ireland's most trusted car brand. All our cars come with a 12-month comprehensive warranty with flexible payment options available. Talk to Kelly's Toyota today. Toyota, built for a better world. Terms and conditions apply.
The Community Garda Information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, monitoring homes and businesses in the northwest for intruder, fire, panic and medical signals. Call Sheridan Security on 91
Time now for Community Garda Information on this Tuesday, the 30th of September 2025. We're joined in studio by Garda Sean Sweeney from the Buncrana Garda Station. Sean, good morning to you.
Morning, Greg.
Great to have you in, and we'll get to the appeals and information in a moment, but we'll also be chatting a little later on to, I was going to say newly ordained. It's not quite that, is it? What is the term? It's a new recruit, is it?
Probationer.
New probationer with An Garda Síochána Garda. Jared McNamee, based in Letterkenny. Jared, thanks for calling up as well. And as I say, we'll have a chat in a moment because obviously there is a new round of Garda recruitment ongoing, and maybe Jared might be having the information that makes you say, right, that's for me, or maybe play it back to someone in your life who's looking for a new career, or perhaps just might be drawn to An Garda Síochána. But first, we'll start with you, Sean, and we'll start with appeals. A theft incident in Muff.
Yeah, this occurred on Wednesday, the 24th September at approximately 9:30 p.m. At the Oct Road, Muff. A lady was standing at that location waiting on a bus when a male on a bicycle snatched her handbag as he passed by. He continued onwards in the direction of Quigley's Point. He was wearing all black clothing and had his hood up. The stolen green handbag contained a white wallet with a small amount of sterling cash and a Lloyd's bank card, Samsung earpods, an Apple laptop, an Apple iPhone and a VR headset. There are appeals to anybody who observed the cyclist to get in touch with Gardaí. If you travel along that route, the Oct Road, Muff, between 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. with a dash cam, or in the general area of Muff Village, please make the footage available to us. And should any of these types of items come for sale on a second-hand basis, please alert Gardaí Mocrana on 9320540 or the confidential line 1800 666 111.
Yeah, and the moments leading up to it and afterwards critical there because, maybe the hood was down at some point. Absolutely, or what have you. Yeah. So if those timelines match with when you were on that road and you do have a dash cam, check it out, or check in your memory to see if... checking your mental memory to see if anything rings a bell there. A theft in Letterkenny next.
Yeah, this happened in Rosemount Lane, Letterkenny, on Sunday the 28th September at approximately 6:40 p.m. A red-black trailer was stolen from the side of a house at that location. So we're interested in any sightings of a white Mondeo in the area around that time. A man can be seen wearing a blue jacket on CCTV footage, hooking the trailer onto the Mondeo and leaving the area. So our appeal to anybody who travel on Main Street, Letterkenny, Rosemount Lane or Pierce Road, whose dash cam between 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. those dates, please make it available or call, if any relevant information, call Letterkenny on 9167 100.
Yeah, someone saw something there, a good description. Burglary this time in Fintown.
Yeah, this occurred at a derelict cottage in the area of Glenleighon, Fintown, between Thursday the 18th September and Thursday the 25th September. So the front door of the cottage was forced open and a quantity of copper piping was stolen from within. So our appeal is anybody who observes suspicious activity or vehicles in that area over the course of that week may contact Gardaí in Ballyshannon on 9858530.
Not attributing any blame there at all, but if people are out on the lookout, a lot of building going on at the moment, exactly, a lot of renovation. Yeah. Copper's not always used nowadays, but just to make sure your site's secure, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's your standard advice, isn't it? Right, burglary now in Fairgreen Hill, Letterkenny.
Yeah, so our appeal is this occurred at a house in the area of Fairgreen Hill, Letterkenny on Friday, 26th September between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. Entry was gained via unlocked back door, a PS5, a computer monitor and a quantity of cash stolen from an upstairs bedroom. So if anybody travelling that area, dash cam footage between those hours and those dates, we ask them to make it available, or if you observe suspicious activity, contact Letterkenny, again 9167 100.
All right, is it a burglary at Tulladish? Yeah. 2 instances in Tulladish. Start with the burglary, yeah?
Yeah, so the burglary in Tulladish is between 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. on Wednesday, 24th September, during which time a farm shed was entered and the lock and door was cut. A lock on the outer gate was also cut. 2 tools were stolen, namely an orange Oleo McSparta Strimmer 441T and an orange steel chainsaw 028 18-inch bar. So our appeal to anybody observe specific activity vehicles between those dates, get in touch. We're particularly interested in hearing sightings or have dashcam footage of a silver Isuzu Jeep. It's believed in the area with 2 males on board. Should anyone come across again tools for sale on second-hand basis, alert Gardaí in Buncrana 93205440.
Okay, now criminal damage in the same area around the same time, presumably two separate pulse numbers, but everything is being investigated.
Yes, yeah. So this happened in the farm again, Tullydish, Buncrana, between 7 and 8 a.m. on Wednesday the 24th. Lock in the shed door was cut, but the shed was empty, so there was nothing taken. The appeal again, if any observed a silver Isuzu Jeep with 2 males on board between those times, or if any relevant information, contact Buncrana or the confidential line again, 1800 666 111.
All right, now criminal damage this time in St Johnston.
Yeah, at the Skene, St Johnston, Friday the 26th September, shortly after 8:30 p.m. We received reports of abandoned mobile homes on fire at that location. Gardaí fire service attended the scene. Thankfully, there was nobody inside at the time of the blaze, so there was no injuries. So our appeal is anybody in that area, again, dashcam footage between 7:30 p.m, 8:30 p.m, or if any relevant information, contact Letterkenny 9167100.
Yeah, thank God no one was in it, but I'm sure emergency services replied and responded as if there might have been as well. So a lot of resources go in to tackle instances like that. Theft from a van next in Ballybofey.
Yeah, it's a white Fiat Doblo, a registration 08D 47839. This was the Forest Road at Minty Cat One Farm, Mean Bog in Ballybofey. The van had gone off the road and the owner returned to collect it. He realised it was stolen. Theft is believed to happen between 7 a.m. on Tuesday the 23rd September and 9 p.m. on Wednesday the 24th September. So our appeal is anybody's information, the current whereabouts in relation, or if you have information in relation to the theft, please contact Ballyshannon 9858 or again the confidential line.
I presume that could have just looked like a regular recovery. People need to sort of, check their memory. Yeah. Okay, time for a couple of questions, if that's all right. Yeah, we've done the van at Mean Bog. Can you ask the Garda what can be done in Glengad at night? 2 young men joyriding, something has to be done. So you would hear stories like this.
Yeah.
It's frustration, like no one's there to help.
Exactly. Look, Gardaí in Buncrana can reach 24/7. Again, that number is 9320540. So look, we'd ask the caller, contact Gardaí immediately and these incidents occurred. If you're aware of who the men are, the registrations, the cars involved, please pass this information on. If you don't want to pass this type of information on to the station, you can use the Garda confidential line. That number is 1800 666 111. There's also the option of reporting the matter via Traffic Watch, an online form. This can be accessed via garda.ie. Any incident of dangerous driving reported as occurred will always be fully investigated. So please report the incident. When it's occurring, let us know and we'll react to it.
One other question here. Could you ask the Garda if I can go to any Garda station to get a passport form signed?
Well, you should go to your most local station because they know you're there. You can get a form signed at any station that's local to your home. But again, you have to have relevant documentation and documentation. The guard has to be fully satisfied of who you are. So it's best to go to your local station if you can.
You wouldn't, but obviously the passport office has to make a couple of calls back, right? And they try a couple of times, and you know, if I did it, say for instance in, I don't know if Ballantrae has a station still, but say it was open for an hour, would I not be better off going to Ballyshannon at 24/7 station?
Yeah, because there's always someone there. So when the passport office ring, they're going to check the register, and they do on a regular basis. So it is going to hold up your application if they can't verify it.
And they will only call a certain amount of times, and then all right, okay, good advice. Garda Recruitment, you're looking for more colleagues, Sean?
We are. We need every one of them. So the latest competition is now live. Interested candidates have until 3 p.m. on Thursday, the 9th October, to apply. An information event will take place on Wednesday, the 1st October at Ballybofey Garda Station between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. The local Garda Community Policing Unit in Letterkenny will hold 2 recruitment information events on Thursday, the 2nd October. The first at Letterkenny Shopping Centre between 12:30 p.m. and 2:30 p.m. and the second in Central Library in Main Street, Letterkenny, in a downstairs room between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. You're going to get a lot of information at these events. There'll be trainee Garda there. They're going to explain the process, what they went through and what you need to do. So it's well worth coming if you want to find out what you need to do to go through the process. Again, there's more information on publicjobs.ie.
How long have you been a Garda now, Sean?
19 years now, Greg.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Been a while.
No regrets?
No.
It's a tough job though, is it?
It is, but there's niches for everybody. There's different units you can get into. I'm doing this here now as well, there's something for everyone in it.
Yeah, okay. Someone right at the beginning of their career is Garda Jared McNamee, based in Letterkenny. Great to see you, Jared. Congratulations on your passing out, or whatever the phraseology is. Do you mind me asking what age you are?
32, Greg.
32, right. Well, you don't look 32, but so that would be, relatively later, is it? What was the age demographic in Templemore?
Our intake, I was intake 244, and that was the first intake where they increased the age bracket from 35 up to 50. I thought it was a great experience. They opened that bracket up. There were so much older people coming in on the higher age bracket. Very successful as well, and it's great to have people that older segment there. They support and guide the younger generation that's going into the Guards.
Because this is almost like, take two for you, isn't it? Because you left school at 17. People might recognise your name or face if they're watching from the Irish dancing scene. You toured all over the world, didn't you?
Toured all over the world, Greg. And again, that thing, I remember I was back at school too. I know school mightn't be for everyone, and you're coming to the final exams. But one thing I will say is, just give that final push.
Get the leaving cert.
Get the leaving cert, and it leaves your doors open. Then, as I say, I left at a young age and went travelling the world, dancing, gained vast experience, learned fast, how to live, manage with people, being able to talk. I think it's very important to have a background of life experience before you apply yourself.
It's an advantage.
It is. It's a massive advantage, and at that time I didn't see the advantage. But now later on, when I look back, that was the building blocks for me being able to steer the ship forward.
And you spent some time in the music industry, decided to retrain as a nurse. Then the pivot to An Garda Síochána. What changed your mind there?
I wouldn't say nothing changed my mind, Greg. I'm a believer of opening doors. If you can open a door, take every opportunity you can. Now, when you're opening doors, it's important to leave a revolving door behind you. The Guards have always been inside me from a young age as well, growing up. I applied in 2013.
Right.
Was unsuccessful at that time, but again, things happen for a reason. And looking back now,
well, you were a young lad then.
Greg, and I didn't have the life experience that I have.
Plus, you wouldn't have had then the actual life experiences.
I wouldn't have had my life outside as well. So I found myself, the opportunity came up, and it says, you know what, here's another opportunity, another avenue, another challenge, which I'm prepared to face and take on.
Right, you went into Templemore then, December 2024. What was that like, that experience?
The first...
is it like going back to school or what?
It is and it isn't, Greg.
Right.
The 16th of December I started, was the first day down. Very daunting experience going in, but then you see the hundreds of other people there with you, so everybody's on the one page. Templemore was a fantastic experience. It's broken up. You do 3 months in Templemore, which is phase 1, and that's your classroom learning and your practical skills. Then in phase 2, you come out on a training station, which is close to home, and you spend 3 months on your training station for your phase 2, and then you return back to Templemore for the final phase before you pass out.
So you go into it with your eyes wide open. There's obviously, the practical, there's the written stuff and that, but you also get to see the reality of being out on the beat as well, which is important, isn't it? Because you don't want to come out 9 months later and go, what? You know what I mean?
I think you still do that.
Yeah,
but it's it's great to have the practical side of it, Greg, and along with the classroom stuff, the whole way through the process, you are getting that hands-on experience in Templemore, and especially then when you come out in your phase 2 training, you really get to see what the job really entails. I think it really does help then on your phase 3 when you go back, when you have your assessments to do. We had 19 assessments to do in phase 3, and the paperwork and the practical side does go hand in hand.
Were there any concerns about this career move that you had that you've sort of overcome? I don't know, because you're a young dad, right? I don't know if it's about safety, because you never know. Thankfully, Garda deaths are few and far between, but we don't actually often hear about, the injuries or the abuse or what. I think for the most part, and I said this at an event recently, I think for the most part, the majority of people have an awful lot of respect for the Gardaí and understand that, you do need them and they're there to do a job. And I think we shouldn't lose sight of that because of maybe some people with more extreme views of the Guards. But were you nervous about any of that going into it? Because you don't really know where you're going to be based either, do you?
You don't really know where you're going to be based, and it's not finalised, Greg, until nothing's really confirmed until you're standing in Templemore and passing out with the badge in your hand. That's when you're guaranteed that you're going to the station they give you. You're not really prepared to deal with it, but your resilience and, as I said, your life experience in dealing with people, that's where that key factor comes in. 99% of the time, the guard's able to talk, and that's very important. The talking is very important in them situations where you come under threat. It can be daunting, but as I say, you have to let it run off your
Yeah, that's where the training comes in, and your colleagues are with you as well. Were you sort of prepared for potentially being based down the country, or is there more flexibility now? The Gardaí understand that things have changed now, and try and accommodate, say, someone with a young family like yourself.
Yeah, Greg. Over recent years now, they've really started to look after the trainees, and they're starting to place people closer to home. Now that's people with welfare cases, with children, and maybe a mortgage.
And for others, might be mad to get away to a different area. Yeah,
of course, Greg. If I was young again and
send me to Galway, send me to Dublin, wherever. Yeah,
happy to go. But I think it's important, and it's a great change that they've made. It gives people with families and the circumstances that I'm coming from, that's a bit of hope that you are going to be close to home, and it makes it workable.
Yeah, and this is nothing to do with your own private circumstances, but you do your job. You have a job for life. There's incremental pay increases. And what have you. I mean, this is a very good career for you as a sort of a provider as well for your family. I'm not saying your other half isn't providing, but you know what I mean. Like it gives you a bit of security there if you.
There's great security there, Greg, and you have the benefits as well. Like your medical aid assistance and stuff like that comes into play. You have the support of the Garda credit unions. As I say, you're well looked after, and it's to remember to keep all.
And a little birdie told me there's a handy wee house down in Dublin if you go into a concert Croke Park run. Have you heard of this?
Tell me more.
The last one I heard when spitting in Croke Park. Maybe there's a few boys keeping it on the QT. I don't know. But anyway, Jared, you would recommend it. You've gone through the process. It's at the right time in your life. And you're now in your 2-year probation period in Letterkenny Garda Station. Probation might have different meanings for different people. You're fully active member of the force now.
Fully active member, Greg. That's what it means. The probation is linked on to the accredits. It's a level 7 accredit and Bachelor of Arts programme in applied policing, which is accredited by University of Limerick. So for the first 2 years on the probation, now we would have a class every 2 to 3 weeks in your local area. So ours is the CoLab here at ATU. We have a class and we have ongoing assessments and exams throughout that 2-year period. So that's where the probation comes in, and obviously you can manage your workload and keep on top of everything. So it's a great learning to be able to meet deadlines and submit your files or whatever it is that you're going to be doing down the road.
And is there a particular area within the Garda that you'd be interested in pursuing down the line, or are you just getting your foot in now and
there is, Greg. I like to set goals and targets. I've always done that and I've achieved most of the goals that I've always wanted. I'll do the same in this. At the minute now, I'm just enjoying the experience. It's such a wide variety. I work for the first 2 years in probation. You work on the core regular unit, so you're dealing with your theft, your burglaries, your accidents. It's a wide range, so you learn everything core for the first 2 years, and then after that, hopefully down the road, then you might steer into your traffic or your crime or whatever it is, where you like to focus. Possibly down the road I will see myself possibly going into traffic.
Yeah.
But it's very early to say that.
Yeah, but I know what you're saying. No, it's interesting because I wanted to ask you that because within the job you can maybe start focusing on elements of the job as well. So I thought it was just
such a
important
wide
mentioning
variety,
that.
Greg.
Yeah.
It's such a wide variety.
Okay, right, and I don't know who you have to upset to end up coming in here on a Tuesday, but you have to pee someone off, I think. The people prepared to do it are getting thin on the ground. Listen, it's very important though. Jared, the very, very best of luck with your career.
Thanks, Greg.
It's been a great insight, actually. And there is a recruitment ongoing at the moment, and as you heard from Garda Jared McNamee there, he couldn't recommend it highly enough. And of course, as always, the stalwart Sean Sweeney, thank you very much for calling in. All right, lovely stuff. Okay, that was Community Garda Information for this Tuesday. It's back with you after the 10 o'clock news next Tuesday.
Planning a celebration? Discover the brand new Lily's Restaurant at the Mount Errigal Hotel. A stylish new space with beautiful surroundings and your own private bar. Perfect for birthdays, communions, anniversaries and more. Book now at Res Diary or call 074 912 2700.
Bhí an srang go bil letrachas hartar de gúnaí, agus déitach se bheith contortach dal gardómh. Mar sin, chur ceistart féin. Bhfuil me clínte, go bhfuil se sábhailte? Bí a fear amach do rang go letrachas le stúas agus le stíos. Má bhí an áhasart, chur glíorn chian 8 náid 382 999. Seans go sábhaile se do bheithe. ESB Networks, bí sábhailte, fan gláán a rang go letrachas.
When you hear these names, you'll think tries and tackles. But off the pitch, Jamieson Gibson Park surfs. Tygburn bakes. And Ryan Baird fishes. Game-changing talent isn't always what you expect. Just like Vodafone Business. We're experts in more than you might think, with cybersecurity, cloud solutions, and collaboration tools. So your business can change the game. Search Your Business Can.
Garda emergency, how can we help? Please help me. Daddy has a knife and he's hurting Mammy. Please help.
An armed incident is usually over in seconds, but the people we help, that stays with us forever. It reminds us that it's a tough job, but it's a job worth doing.
Join on Garda Síochána today. You can apply now at publicjobs.ie.
If you need an eye test, look no further than Louis Walsh Opticians. Letterkenny's longest established opticians are delighted to welcome patients new and old to their state-of-the-art practice in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. Their latest technology includes a 3D OCT retinal camera, which assesses the health of your eyes in minutes. Private, medical card and PRSI patients welcome. Call 91 21000 to arrange your eye test.
Louis Walsh Opticians, Letterkenny. Your vision, our focus.
I was actually with them last week. Went in all geared up for having to get glasses, you know, because of the age and all that kind of stuff. And it turned out I just had dry eyes, so no glasses for me yet. And I was half looking at some frames, but thanks for the nice care I got down there. Anil Anthony Ambat is organiser of a careers fair in the RCC. He's in studio with me now. Anil, thank you for calling up.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
Right, so talk to me about this careers fair.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I'm organizing this post-secondary career path higher studies session with the support of Autism Family Support Letterkenny and Divine Nails and Go-Mart Asian Store Letterkenny. So this is mainly for students who are studying in the secondary and especially for those who are in junior cert and above.
And is it with a view to maybe helping them focus on where they might want to go with their career, and I suppose then might give them greater focus in their studies?
Yeah, mainly it is also we are focusing to give parents also awareness of this. So what the scope will be each subject, depending on what subject they like, what are the different career options available. So that's what we'll be highlighting. So this, if you think about it, Greg, during the leaving cert, students will be under enormous pressure to achieve the grades to get into the university. So this, by parents, as a parents, if we can step in and support them by gathering some information and to help them to get into the right track.
Yeah, because, you know, I mean, obviously, I have them in my family, but not in my house. Kids who are very focused. They know what they want to do.
Yeah.
And they almost tailor their education to meet their goals. But I think there's an awful lot of parents out there or grandparents with young people, and they might even have a qualification. They might have actually done their 3 or 4 years and still don't know what they want to do. You know, they might have some sort of a relatively generic qualification. So, you know, this might help people get a clearer vision of what might interest them.
Exactly. From the background I'm coming from, like it is entirely different from what the education system we have here. So it may be same for many other people as well. So mainly what we are looking for is, if you take my own example, my daughter didn't have a clue like what she wanted to do, and finally she told me like I want to do the dentistry.
What age was that at? Did she say that to you?
Last year.
And what age?
Last year.
Okay.
And so when I applied to the universities, I was not aware that it is the UK the entry process and the Republic of Ireland entry process are different.
Okay.
Because we missed out actually the UCAT. UCAT, we were not aware that UCAT is needed for getting admission in dentistry, because Republic of Ireland is just based on the leaving cert marks.
Mm-hmm.
So things like that, you know, it can happen to anyone. So what we are trying to get out of is to get an awareness to the parents and the students on what are the different career path options available, what are the process to apply for the courses. So the session will be led by a senior career coach, Una Coiler. So she'll be leading the session, and I'm also getting someone from Dublin, a recruitment agency called Studywell Group. So he'll be explaining about different study options available in Europe.
I think too, people need to think more now about where they want to work, what they want to do in a very changing world. And trends can change really quite quickly. The obvious example is after the last economic crash, people did not become architects because no building was happening, nothing was happening, right? And then when things started to recover as they do, there was this gap in sort of qualified architects or what have you, right? That's a silly little example. But my point being now, when you look at practically how is AI going to maybe affect your career, or where are the next growth industries? Like there is a massive shortage of qualified electricians and engineers to work in the renewable energy sector, for an example. There are no end of jobs and they can't fill the jobs. They're trying to convince 30-year electricians to repurpose and come and work in that industry. So it's very important that people are teasing out their interests now. So the discussions up for discussion are the Irish education system, grinds tutoring options, post-secondary school options, university studies in Ireland, UK and Europe, which is critical because, you know, you might have, as we heard from Anil, his daughter, sometimes you can find out information just when you say, right, this is what I'm interested in. Eligibility criteria and applications process, all areas where it would be great to get a little bit of guidance, support and help, Anil.
Exactly. Like it's easy to miss out these things, you know, and it is better for us to don't wait until the end of leaving cert to figure these things out, you know. So
will there be a particular emphasis in sort of the medical field, or is it general?
We are getting some students, medical students, dentistry students, and someone studying for engineering and other areas
so
to do a live
enough.
talk, you know, to share their experience. So the journey they have been through.
And also there'll be a 30-minute Q&A. I imagine it might run a bit longer than that. But anyway, they're scheduled a 30-minute Q&A session at the end for anyone
if parents have questions regarding any particular area. And if you think of if you are going for a private consultation, it may cost around like €250 to €300 here. And Dublin it's 400. And you know, when I was discussing with her the challenges I faced, and she was more than happy to provide it for a very reasonable rate. And since it is the after all the expenses, the amount is going to charity, we are now providing the session for just €5 per head, and
I should point out, over half the seats are taken. By the way, it's capped at 75, and 50 have gone. So if you have an interest in this, and just to recap, you said this right at the beginning. What age students do you think would best benefit from this?
I would say like junior cert and above.
Okay,
junior cert and
it's just
above.
where you're starting to need to. All right, good stuff, Anil. How do people find out about registering, by the way? Sorry, that's the last question I have for you.
I have a Google form there. I have already shared.
Okay, so we have that.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to contact us, we'll put that in your direction. All right, Anil, I think we covered everything there, didn't we? When is it taking place? Sorry, that's one thing
It is in RCC. 8th of November.
8th of November, so there's plenty of notice. Okay, 1:30 in the afternoon, so plenty of notice. But please take note, there's 75 seats, 48 of them, almost 50 already filled. There's a €5 registration fee, that's to cover expenses. But anything additional to that will go towards the Autism Family Support Network in Letterkenny, isn't that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, listen, thank you very much indeed, Anil Anthony Ambat, organiser of the Careers Fair in the RCC. If you want any further information in relation to that, feel free to give us a call here on the 9 till noon show.
It's Cabaret 25 at Harvey's Point. We start again on Wednesday, September the 3rd, and every Wednesday until November the 5th. An amazing lineup of stars, gourmet food, the warmest of welcomes, and all in the beautiful surrounds of Harvey's Point on Lough Esk, Donegal Town. Book today 074 972 2208 or harveyspoint.com. The Harvey's Point Cabaret, a night not to be missed.
Has your child recently started school? Donegal County Library, in partnership with First 5, a whole-of-government strategy to improve the lives of babies, young children and their families, is here to support this big step. Visit your local library and you can pick up a free little library book bag and their very own library card. There's one for every child starting school, available now at your local library, an initiative of the Government of Ireland in association with Libraries Ireland and Donegal County Library.
Imagine if you could test drive everything in life. Marriage, new jobs, even your in-laws. Well, at least with your next car you can. At iMotors, we've been helping Donegal families for over 50 years find quality used cars they can trust. All 100% checked and come with a warranty. Take one for a spin today. Visit us in Letterkenny, Malin Village or at imotors.ie.
iMotors, fearless generation. At Specsavers, we've got hearing devices that can stream music or movies. Ones that are good in crowds, rechargeable battery ones that are good at home, ones that are good in the great outdoors, ones that connect to phones, ones that fit in your ear, ones that fit over your ear, ones that fit in wherever you happen to be. We've even got ones in our advanced range that use AI to make speech sound clearer. And they're all available at great Specsavers prices. So book a free hearing check today. Terms and conditions apply.
Highland Radio weather updates, brought to you by McElhinney's. With new season styles arriving daily, discover the latest fashion, footwear and accessories for autumn, in store or shop online at mcelhinney's.com today.
Right, let's look at that weather forecast now. A dull day today with outbreaks of rain or drizzle. Mist and hill fog. The rain will turn more persistent this evening. Highest temperatures of 14 to 16 degrees with a light to moderate southerly wind, just in case you're sailing home. Right, now we're joined in studio by Donald Kavanagh from the newsroom, of course. Donald, thanks so much for coming in to us.
Pleasure, Greg.
Right, now a big update from An Garda Síochána last night in relation to the explosion in Chrysler. And it's one of those events that, it feels like yesterday, but also it's hard to believe that 3 years has passed. It's a peculiar one if you're sort of closely connected to something. But remind us of the circumstances from October 7th that brought us to this point.
Shortly after 3 o'clock on that afternoon, Greg, a very busy shop, petrol station in Chrysler, just on the outskirts on the Letterkenny side there. There was an explosion. The building partially collapsed, trapping a number of people inside. A huge recovery operation involving emergency services and volunteers from the immediate area, from right around Donegal and indeed from our neighbours in Derry, Fermanagh and Tyrone as well. And it took 24 hours at least just to get a sense of the scale of what had happened. And in the end up, when the bodies were recovered, 10 people had lost their lives in that building. And I think the last of the bodies was recovered on the Saturday afternoon, 24 hours after the explosion happened. Obviously, the entire community around there was helping and gathered in the area. And it's just certainly the most awful tragedy I've experienced in 35 years on Island Radio.
The Garda investigation has been ongoing. What has happened between it being launched and to now in terms of people that have been spoken to, etc.?
We get updates from Garda every couple of months. We'll get a notification that a person has been arrested, a person is being questioned, they're being held in a Garda station, and then we'll get confirmation the next day that the person has been released without charge. The Garda investigation is continuing.
And that is also, I mean, that's common practice.
Yes.
Arresting someone and questioning them under arrest
absolutely, yes.
Offers that individual to protection and rights, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, they're being interviewed under caution.
Yeah.
I think, as the phrase goes, it's under caution. So their rights have been explained. They're being interviewed under caution. And this is being gathered as evidence. Now, the huge update here and the real breakthrough now that what's happening is after a 3-year investigation, 7 arrests and the collection of literally hundreds of files, Gardaí have now drawn all their materials together and they have submitted a file to the Director of Public Prosecutions.
Yeah, and they say that investigation generated 1,500 internal jobs in terms of jobs that need to be done, not physical jobs.
Absolutely.
1,000 statements and 750 reports, and they are still looking to speak to anyone who may have information that hasn't yet formally spoken to An Garda Síochána.
Absolutely, and that will continue. And as you always say to the various Gardaí that take part in the Garda Community Information on a Tuesday, a Garda investigation, very few Garda investigations are solved by one big, huge reveal. What Garda investigations do and what Gardaí solve situations with is thousands of small pieces of information that make a jigsaw. And what they've been doing over the past 3 years is very patiently and I'm sure very diligently and fastidiously putting together a jigsaw.
Now the DPP will have to consider if a bar is reached in terms of whether or not someone can be charged with anything relating to this incident. That is the role of the DPP, and they can say yes, you can progress that charge against that person, or they might say, unfortunately, we don't reach a threshold. Not unfortunately, they'll just say we don't reach a threshold for charges to be brought. That's also an option.
I mean, the DPP will, and we speak of the DPP. In reality, the DPP is an office where several personnel, legal personnel and others within the DPP's office will go through every one of those files, every one of those pieces of evidence. They will do so carefully and with a fine-tooth comb. And I suspect the DPP review is going to take months. We're not going to get a decision on this anytime soon. We'll probably get it possibly in 2026. It could even take longer. I honestly don't know, because I think something on this scale and of this magnitude, this is going to be a very, very careful and painstaking review of every piece of evidence there. But it is, and I think there has been over the past couple of years, just on the eve of the anniversary, Gardaí do tend to issue an update. And this one is a big one. This one is moving that investigation forward.
And just briefly, a motion had been passed at Donegal County Council relating to... Now, it is a motion, by the way, and these are functions of the executive, but the motion was passed calling on the executive to buy the site of the Chrysler tragedy. There's a lot of... Firstly, there's a lot of different opinions within Chrysler, and there are also a lot of people... that are affected by these decisions in different ways. Ultimately, obviously, the councillors proposing this are thinking of the families of the bereaved. But it was referenced, and in the short time we have, that this is a very sensitive, emotional matter.
It is. This was first raised. It was raised at a municipal district meeting at the Milford Centre some months ago by Councillor Thomas Sean Devine, who put forward a suggestion that Donegal County Council should buy the site, acquire the site, either through a negotiation and agreement with the owners or through a compulsory purchase order. And that site then should be used as a memorial, and the council would sit down with the families to actually discuss what's going to happen. Now, what happened then was he was asked to hold back on the motion, because at that point the planning determination hadn't yet been received for the site. We know then that planning application had been put in. That planning application was refused. Councillor Devine resubmitted his motion in July. Again, it was deferred pending a number of meetings, and then he moved it yesterday, and he made it quite clear he wanted a decision. He was asked to defer again. He said no, he wanted a decision. There were several family members in the chamber. I spoke to several of them and interviewed Hugh Harper, and that went out obviously on Newsnight. It's available online. And the tensions and emotions were obviously running high because it's just the eve of the anniversary as well. You could tell, speaking to Hugh and speaking to Donna and to others that were there. Certainly the families themselves are feeling it, and I think they left yesterday with the part of the problem. I won't say problem, that's the wrong word, but the chief executive was pointing out that he was saying, look, it's going to be difficult for officials to actually justify buying this as a CPO for that particular reason. And then Councillor Devine was saying, look, you're acquiring land in Letterkenny for a park. What's the difference between doing a park in Letterkenny and doing a park in Chrysler? The end of it was that the councillors decided unanimously that this should be the policy the council pursues. So the executive must now sit down with an instruction, in inverted commas, from the members that they look at acquiring that site for use as a memorial with the family.
But is there a choice or whether or not that actually happens?
It's the executive would certainly strive to meet the request of the councillors. Now, whether you can say that's totally an executive function, but the councillors essentially are determining the policy of Donegal County Council. That's what they've done. And I mean, as Hugh Harper said to me, what he wants and what Donna wants and what all the families want, what Hugh said to me, and I will quote him directly, Hugh said, I want to be able to go somewhere and sit down where my daughter took her final breath. Okay. And I think that's what all the families were saying yesterday.
Thanks very much indeed, Donald Kavanagh from the newsroom. We'll be back with the news, which will be a minute or two late after these.
I'm Fionnuala Fibre O'Farrell Flynn, racing across the country to keep up with NBI's fibre rollout. Over 50 broadband providers are using NBI's network to bring high-speed fibre broadband to homes across Ireland. So from Ballyliffin to Ballybuffet, homeowners can pick whatever package suits their needs and still get all the benefits of rural Ireland's dedicated fibre broadband network. Connect at nbi.ie.
NBI is delivering the government's national broadband plan.
Another connection. Oh, I knew I shouldn't have worn heels.
At Hidden Hearing, we believe you should keep hearing it all. Keep dancing. Keep celebrating. Keep laughing. Keep being you. Call 1-800-370-000 or go to hiddenhearing.ie and book a free hearing test today. Hidden Hearing. Your hearing is our expertise.
At Dunnes Stores, you can save more with your 10 off 50 or 5 off 25 vouchers. So if you dream of granola topped with fruit and yoghurt, your dreams can become reality and you'll have saved on the things you love. Or if you like the sound of the word sandwich, and we're talking grilled chicken, tomato, lettuce, and yes, a fried egg, you can save on each of the ingredients. Save more with your vouchers, in-store, online, or click and collect. Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Vouchering will be used on next grocery shop.
Monster Bingo every Tuesday night at Mulroy Woods Hotel. €3,300 must go with €1,000 on the last page. Doors open 7:30. Bingo starts at 8:30. That's Monster Bingo this and every Tuesday night at Mulroy Woods Hotel, Milford.
Flowgas Solar can save a business thousands on their electricity bills. Just ask Brian Kennedy from Kennedy Spar, Ballyconnell.
By installing our panels, we'll save over €10,000 a year on energy costs. That's a no-brainer for a business like ours.
You can save on solar too. Visit flowgas.ie/business or call 041 214 9500. Terms and conditions apply. Savings based on generating 49,000 kilowatt hours per year, equivalent to savings of over €10,000 annually based off 12 months.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, coming up shortly, we're going to be joined by Paddy Rooney, our political analyst, one of them, to sort of reflect on last night's presidential election debate. It kicked off at 10 o'clock on Virgin Media. You've been texting in your hundreds, actually, believe it or not, on that subject, and we'll get to some of those and get Paddy's views after we get the news headlines now at 2 minutes past 11. Good morning once again, Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A file on the Chrysler explosion, which killed 10 people, has been sent to the Director of Public Prosecution. Next week marks 3 years since the tragedy. Gardaí say 1,000 statements and 750 reports have been carried out, along with 7 arrests. A primary investigation has been sent forward to the DPP for a decision on whether charges should be brought or not. Gardaí are investigating 2 incidents believed to be linked in Buncrana. On Wednesday morning last, between 7 and 8 a.m, a farm shed was entered after the locks were cut on the shed door and the outer gate. 2 tools were stolen. Meanwhile, criminal damage occurred at another nearby farm site in the same area. Gardaí are particularly interested in those who observed a silver Isuzu Jeep with 2 male occupants. Donegal County Council has backed a motion for a comprehensive audit of all local quarries proposed by Councillor Joy Beard. The audit would be conducted by the National Building Control and Market Surveillance Office in collaboration with the Geological Survey of Ireland. The move is in response to research confirming pyrrhotite and framboidal pyrite are the primary causes of concrete failure in Ireland. Councillor Beard emphasised that the goal is to restore confidence in a supply chain and not to punish the industry. Gardaí are officially ruling the deaths of 3 family members in County Louth yesterday as a homicide. 54-year-old Mark O'Connor, his wife 56-year-old Louise and their 27-year-old son Evan O'Connor were found dead at their house near the village of Talonstown yesterday morning. A post-mortem examination of their bodies will take place at Our Lady of Lourdes Hospital in Drogheda today. And finally, new lending limits for credit unions come into effect today. The central bank is increasing the home and business lending capacity for credit unions by €6.6 billion. Home loan limits are going to go up by 30% of total assets, while it's a 15% increase for businesses. There will also be no need for a business plan for loans of more than €25,000. That's all for now from the newsroom. Back with more at 12 noon.
Thank you very much, Donna Marie. We'll be back with our next guest on the show after this short break.
Us Irish like to think we know when something sounds too good to be true, like getting a quick and easy car insurance quote.
Ah, come off it.
Plus great value cover.
You're joking.
From a trusted provider.
Ah, pull the other leg.
And most of the time, we're right. But not this time. See for yourself at onpostinsurance.ie. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. One Direct Ireland Limited trading as An Post Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. One Direct Ireland Limited is a wholly owned subsidiary of An Post. Best price online.
Right, we're joined on the programme now by Beatrice Hughes, Research Ireland candidate and third-year PhD student at University College Dublin. Good morning to you, Beatrice.
Good morning, Greg.
Thanks so much for joining us. Right, you're conducting a study entitled Unwanted Consensual Sex, the Implications for Women. So before we perhaps throw the net out there to see who might want to get involved, what is the Can you explain the title a bit more and what specifically you're researching?
Absolutely. I suppose what the study is trying to do is that I'm trying to get a better understanding of the experience for women of engaging in sex that they don't desire. The kind of sex maybe that they just feel that they should be having sex at times when they're actually don't have any desire for sex themselves. And it's not because a partner is putting direct pressure on them, but really just because they feel that they should.
And what might that be down to? The obvious might be that someone is not sexually attracted to their partner anymore, but they believe that this is, part of the deal, in inverted commas, a crude way to put it, but it is still their choice though, right?
Absolutely, it is their choice. But I think there can be many reasons why women will agree to sex that they don't desire. And sometimes it's because they love a partner and it's a way, intimacy is important to them in the relationship. And it's a compromise that they're happy to participate in. But I think for others, maybe at times patterns and expectations can develop, and it can just make it very difficult sometimes for women to say no to sex. And if a partner's desire for sex is a lot higher than the woman's, then consistently saying no to a partner can feel like rejection for the partner, and it can be just a difficult situation to be in. I don't think it necessarily means that the woman no longer finds her partner sexually attractive. It may just mean that they're tired, or they're not in the mood, or there may be times when they would enjoy sex, but at that particular time, possibly not.
Okay, so you're interested in people then who might enjoy sex on one occasion, on a particular occasion, but then may not the next.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'd often find in relationships at the start of a relationship that the sex can be very enjoyable for both partners, and can be quite frequent. And that can change then over time, when the honeymoon period is over, and maybe when children come along or other stresses in life impact on people's lives. So I think it's something that our sexuality is something that's quite fluid. That there are times that we'll have more sexual desire than others. And I suppose the study is just trying to really focus on the experience. And it's not saying either that only women have this experience. Men indeed can have this experience as well, as can trans women, lesbians, gay men, all kinds of people in all kinds of relationship formations. But the research that would suggest that women tend to agree to sex that they don't desire on a far higher rate than men do. So this is why I'm particularly interested in the experience for women. And like you mentioned there are social norms as well, and expectations around
There's societal pressures as well. I mean, there might be younger women, for an example, who feel that sex, they've been conditioned to believe that sex is essential part of the progress of a relationship, even if that's perhaps for moral reasons or for whatever reasons, personal reasons, they don't want to engage. But like, how do you differentiate? So, are we giving something that's, how do I phrase this right? So obviously there's got to be people that sometimes they're into it, sometimes they're not, right? Yeah. And then they sort of balance it out and they go, well, I'll take one for the team tonight because my other half seems really interested. Is that not potentially just a regular part of life? And really you're trying to give something that is just part of existing a name, if that makes sense.
Well, this is it. This is one of the things that it doesn't really have a name. And for some people that will be just fine to occasionally have sex that they don't desire, and it works for them. But for others, I think it can really develop into a habit and an expectation where they're consistently engaging in sex that they don't desire. This also leads to very performative sex, where women are performing desire, they're performing pleasure, performing orgasm, faking orgasm, just to seem like they are actually enjoying sex. And really, they just want it to be over. And that is the reality, and it's very much a hidden reality, I would say, for a lot of women out there.
All right, so
I suppose what I'm hoping to do is just make it a bit more visible.
So you're inviting people who may be interested in talking about this to do so completely privately and confidentially. How do people get in touch if they want to be part of it?
Okay, there's a number that people can reach me on, and this is a research phone. It's 085 156 4958. And I can also be reached on email at beatrice.hughes@ucdconnect.ie. I have a poster connected to the research as well that I can send on to you. Maybe you could put that up on the website.
Why might people want to get involved in this, do you think? Is it just to help? To I don't know. Like I often wonder, because I haven't really come across one that made me go, you know what, this is something I need to engage in any area, if you know what I mean. So why do you think people might go, actually, do you know what, that's I can relate to that. I'm going to get involved. Why do people do that, or what is it that motivates people?
I think when the experience resonates with them, I think if women are listening and they think, this is all too familiar.
Just talk about my life here.
This story, and if it's something that has impacted them negatively, and maybe that they've never spoken of or never even fully acknowledged to themselves or another person, I think they're the kind of people who tend to want to come forward. And also people who feel that maybe it has turned into a negative in their relationship. Something that has become harmful or has had negative implications for them. They're the kind of women who I would find would like to come forward. And they come forward really in the hope that the research is going to help shine a light on this area and this issue and maybe pave the way, I suppose, in some way for others following in their footsteps, that they won't find themselves in a similar situation.
Okay. We'll retain your details, obviously, here, Beatrice, in case anyone wishes to find out more. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much indeed. Thanks for having me
Bye.
on,
Take
Greg.
care.
Bye.
Beatrice Hughes there, who's a Research Ireland candidate, third-year PhD student at University College Dublin. Is that something you might be minded to get involved in? It's an interesting one, I suppose. The hurling sticks, now, I must say, we were not inundated with people upset at the hurling sticks on the roundabout. I just have to be very clear about that. And to be honest with you, I could have answered this myself. But the hurling sticks are up as St. Eunan's are due to play in the Ulster Intermediate Hurling Championship. They'll be coming down after that. Has that part? Well, hopefully they'll stay up. They're in the final, are they? I was going to say if they progress, they could stay up. They'll be coming down after that. Has that person seen the tin men decorated before matches? The same thing is done in Strabane on their tin people. I don't think people are, as I say, one person that we got contact with had an issue. I don't think we should emphasise that either, but give it the prominence that it deserves. On the situation in the Middle East. Hi, Greg. How could two men, one a convicted felon and the other a war criminal, both guilty of genocide and mass ethnic cleansing, construct a viable peace plan for Palestine? No people with such dark hearts, with threats to finish the job that's murdered tens of thousands more, could possibly considered peacemakers. And who did they select as a transitional governor? Why, no another. Why another war criminal, Tony Blair. It was interesting. Jim Gavin was asked yesterday about, and he didn't really address it directly, about Donald Trump receiving the Nobel Peace Prize, and he sort of says, "We'll wait and see what comes of it." So I'm not sure he sort of got exactly the tone of that question or how it was put to him. Paddy Rooney, I'm very interested to hear what he had to say about last night's presidential debate. He is going to be joining me with his views, and I'll be catching up on your views as well after this short break.
Hey, look what Mum got at the supermarket.
I can't cook that. It's fish.
It's easy, Dad. Hake is handy in the pan. Trout is perfect in a tray bake. Even mussels are ready in minutes.
But timing, the temperature, it's frightening. It's fish.
Give it a go. It's healthy and tasty too.
Don't be scared of seafood. Pick up some today for a dinner that's
surprisingly easy to cook.
Find meal inspiration at boardbia.ie.
All innovative, all inspiring, all yours. Discover the Audi 261 range with Audi All Access at your local dealership. Join us at our nationwide open house event from October 17th to 24th and experience exhilarating test drives, unmissable offers, and exclusive product upgrades. Book a test drive with Audi All Access today. Audi. Vorsprung durch Technik.
Running a business isn't easy, but accessing support should be. The new National Enterprise Hub is the single source for all government support for your business. With over 180 supports in one place, it's easier than ever to find grants, advice, training, and more. And don't worry about not knowing what you need. Our helpful team will guide you every step of the way. Visit neh.gov.ie to learn how we can help. The National Enterprise Hub. Support starts here, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Mary here from the Cosmetic Department at McGee's Chemist to let you know that Loncombe have a great beauty gift available here this week. Buy 2 Loncombe products, want to be skincare, and you'll get a free 7-piece gift of your choice of either Renergy or Hydroscent travel size creams and more iconic Loncombe products. This offer is available until Saturday the 11th of October, or while stocks last. Some T's and C's apply. For any skincare advice, you can always talk to myself or any staff member here at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
The time now is 11:17. Nobody to vote for, says the listener, in the presidential election. I am not a fan of dictatorship and disgusted with Donegal County Council. I'm 74 and this is my first time I'll not vote. That's some of the reaction we've been getting to last night's first presidential debate. Paddy Rooney, our political analyst, joins us on the show now. Paddy, I suppose overall, before we dig into it a little bit, your overall assessment of last night's show.
Well, every time, Greg, that I go to sit down to watch one of these kind of debates, you know, whether they're in national or presidential elections here, I always do it with the sense of anticipation that I'm going to hear something new for the first time, or that it's actually going to change my way of thinking in relation to how I vote. And invariably, I'm most always disappointed, and I certainly was last night. I mean, that's 1 hour and 20 minutes. I don't think, Greg, that I'm going to get my life back, I'm afraid. And I suppose the election is 24 days away, and it's hard to know what kind of an impact these debates have anyway, because by the time the election comes around, we will have all forgotten what happened last night. But of course, you can't win it, but of course, you can lose it, I suppose, if you have a Brian Lenihan moment or a Sean Gallagher moment. Now, none of the three candidates had that last night, but if you had that, then they could seriously damage their chances. But it was a sort of an all-round, fairly damp squib affair, really, wasn't it?
I often find that the debates on the presidential election it's not about the presidential election. I mean, and that maybe talks to the role or the view of the role, straight in talking about America, talking about the Middle East, talking about Germany, then on to talking about policing in the capital, migration, the use of flags. I thought maybe actually the use of the Irish flag was quite important, maybe to that role in showing leadership or what have you. But like Catherine Connolly's views on the German war machine, maybe I should have more of an interest in them. But like I thought, well, what has this got to do with how I might vote if I do in 24 days?
Well, you see, this is the thing about the way that these things are all teased out. I mean, Mary Regan in The Independent a couple of weeks ago said that the Irish electorate vote with their wallet in a Dáil election, but they vote with their values in a presidential election. And I suppose that's why in the opening comments, the three candidates, Heather Humphreys was talking about being a grandmother, a mother, and having a daughter, and the credit union, and women hold things together. And Jim Gavin was talking about he wore the blue beret and he had the flak jacket and he was the UN missions and he served his country. And Catherine Connolly was on about being a campaigner, all of this kind of stuff. But the problem was that Kieran Cuddy, he wasn't having any of that. He wanted to go into these places, whether they wanted to go there or not. And, they were putting all the motherhood and apple pie stuff. But he was, there was one occasion he said to Jim Gavin, he threw his hands up in the air. He said, I don't want to hear anything more about task forces. And he talked to Heather Humphreys about the waters around Ireland unprotected because your government have boats that are mothballed in Haulbowline. And all of this kind of stuff. And he said to Jim Gavin as well, who are we to tell the Palestinians to who they want to have as government? So he was dictating it a lot. And is
it fair to ask those Heather Humphreys and Jim Gavin constantly to defend sort of government spending or government policy, be it in relation to crime, policing? I mean, this is a non-political role, right? Now, obviously, they're being put forward by the Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, but really to be questioning them about the parties that nominated them, their history in government for a role that is apolitical, is that even relevant?
But it's always happens, like, and it put Catherine Connolly at a huge advantage last night because she's been into Dáil now since 2016, and she's been an independent ever since then. And she actually said it last night: "I'm not part of any political party." And here was Jim Gavin, a complete novice, and he was brought in to talk about all those thorny things that haven't worked out. You know what they are. You've talked about them: the crime, the housing, the protection of the international waters, and so on and so forth. And the very same with Heather Humphreys. And both of them, they found it very, very heavy going to be talking about that kind of stuff, because Jim Gavin in particular was almost straying off the line about having to defend government policy stuff that he wasn't part of in any shape or form. And you see, Catherine Connolly then is in a huge advantage, Greg, because she can point out all of these things. She doesn't have to put forward any solutions, in fact. All she has to do is just hammer the other two for supporting.
But then she was questioned
over the last 10 years.
in terms, like, she was questioned at one point about the Labour Party, what they're doing in Germany, and then the Labour Party in Ireland supporting Catherine Connolly, and if that was awkward. Like, political parties are completely different things in different countries. I didn't understand that line
No, well, there you go. I mean,
it was a wee bit desperate. Like, I mean, what the hell is what Labour do in Germany got to do with a handful of Labour people in Ireland supporting Catherine Connolly? I was like, seriously?
This is the thing. It was just I don't know. Is this a means of testing somebody's mettle, or what are they going to be like under pressure? Because you're right, it more or less had nothing got to do with it at all. I suppose one of the things anyway is that of the three candidates so far, the election's only in its infancy. Catherine Connolly is the one of the three that has a tendency to go off script here. She was talking about the global industrialization or the militarism in Germany at the moment being akin to what the Nazis were doing in 1930. And Kieran Cuddihy was onto that like a shot. You know the story about what she said about Hamas being part of the fabric in Palestine and all that. And the other two, Heather Humphreys and Jim Gavin, I mean, they're obsessed about doing one thing, Greg, and that's about not saying something that's going to hammer them. So they have to try and get through this 1 hour and 20 minutes by talking a lot, but actually saying nothing. And I suppose if you poke Catherine Connolly, I suppose that's what he was trying to do here, to prod her, to see would she say something that would make headlines the following day. But she held her ground, and I mean, she didn't go off.
I just feel when people are interviewing Catherine Connolly that they don't have the tools to challenge her on her points of view. Right. So if you wanted to really dig into the Hamas being a fabric of, firstly, the question was strangely phrased to her on the BBC that started this whole conversation. But I've heard her being questioned on RTE about that. And sometimes when you're asking a question as a journalist, it's a means to an end. But sometimes I think the journalists are running around like they don't know what the right answer is. Right? They don't know what the right answer is. So if you say, they're not saying what you mean Hamas. They don't know what the answer is that they're trying to pin her down on, because they don't actually have the knowledge themselves. And it's not a policy, it's just an idea. And to be honest with you, right, whether you like it or not, Hamas are responsible for an awful atrocity on October 7th, but it never started on October 7th. Hamas is not necessarily a group of 1,000 individuals. It could be it could be nationalism, it could be whatever it might be. You know what I mean? So obviously the ideology, if not the leaders of it, are part of the Palestinian people. But people question her to try and root that out, but they don't really know what they're trying to root out.
They don't, but I think that Micheál Martin, there was nothing wrong really with what she said, because she was right in the fact that Hamas were democratically elected. Now, it's a long time ago, it was 2006, I believe, so it's almost 20 years ago, and that it was part of the fabric. I mean, where do people think that the Hamas came out of? Did they just drop down out of the sky? Of course they're part and parcel of the fabric of Palestine, and they wouldn't be able to survive without the support of the people. But what happened, though, was that Micheál Martin and Simon Harris in particular, I think, set out to twist and turn what she had actually said, because Micheál Martin was I remember him being interviewed on the news, and he had contorted his face about this horrible thought that she was praising Hamas in some way. I mean, she was stating a fact here. Kieran Cuddihy, I think, said, was it to Heather Humphreys, who are we to, when she was blowing off about Hamas, who are we to tell the Palestinians to govern them? If they have a free elections there and Hamas win those elections, I mean, who's anybody to tell us?
What are we debating this for?
About winning? Yeah. They have to decide. If we're really true about this.
I would like to drill down. I know this sounds stupid, but I'd have been more interested in if Heather Humphreys and Jim Gavin have an intention to learn Irish. Or if there is a red line of a bill that they might refer to the Supreme Court, or if they, there's just so many, what they might see as their leadership role in Northern Ireland, and what do they intend to do about that in terms of visiting or meeting certain leaders or what have you, what they might try and do to improve relations with countries where, we don't have good relations, stuff that's within the control of the presidency, but none of that seems to have been discussed at all.
Yeah, and Kieran Cuddihy, he was very entertaining in his own right, but he was very tabloidy, Greg, because he was going at this stuff. And you're perfectly right, because any time at all that any of the three candidates started to touch on the topics that you're talking about there, he just went away off at a tangent completely and started to poo-poo the whole thing. Because that's exactly what should be the issue here. Catherine Connolly started off her contribution speaking Irish, and she finished her contribution speaking Irish. And Jim Gavin and Heather Humphreys had just a couple of words here and there. And absolutely, because, it's still in the Constitution that Irish is in the first language, isn't it? And if something should be said on that, and if they don't have it already, why don't they
Are they
have
going to
it?
intend to learn it? Show some leadership.
Yeah.
Like talking about military spending, and with all due respect to the moderator, like the military spending we're talking about going future is radar. It's it's anti-cyber stuff. It's not in those boats that are being tied up. That's not what our future military spending is on. It's infrastructure to sort of aid the European defence, so to speak. So I thought that was a bit of a conflation as well as there. But I mean, obviously the line about boats being tied up was one that had been agreed.
It was very tabloidy, because look at, Greg, how many boats or naval vessels are we going to have to deploy?
We're not going to police our waters. We're not going to police our waters with naval vessels. Okay? It's going to be with different technology.
Well, say for instance, if we decided to do it, Greg, somebody needs to ask the question then of the 100 billion of public spend that the government have, that they're going to take away a chunk of that and they're going to spend it on providing naval ships. What spending is going to be foregone as a result of that? Are they going to reduce the number of public servants in the country by 50%, or are they going to cut social welfare by 50%? You never have that conversation. There was one other thing that stood out for me last night, though, and I had this sense all along while I was watching the programme. And it was a bit like the character in the Shakespearean play Banquo's Ghost. Their spirit was in the room, but they weren't physically there. Could you imagine if Mairead McGuinness was there instead of Heather Humphreys? And we'd say Princess Peter Casey was there, and Bertie Ahern was there instead of Jim Gavin, and of course, Maria Steen, right? We would have a totally different, I suspect, campaign here, and there would be a lot more sparks flying, because you may well know, I don't know Jim Gavin, I never met him, but he looks like a gentleman. He's not going to offend anybody. Heather Humphreys, I don't think has offended anybody ever in her life. And whatever about Catherine Connolly, she had a square off moment with Jim Gavin one time when he asked him, had Israel achieved their military objectives in Gaza? But it's all very polite. I mean, you compare that with, say, for instance, with the presidential election in America last year between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, or indeed what went on in the UK between Rishi Sunak and Keir Starmer. There was a lot more punch and a lot more sparks and a lot more punches throwing and received. There was nothing in this. This was like a sort of a
but they agree
basically on outing or whatever.
They agree basically on immigration, right? So there's a lot of people in Ireland, whether they're right or wrong, are not happy with the amount, with the extent of immigration in this country. But they are all of kind of the same view that they're also about inclusivity. Now, I think that's a very good message, but I think for a lot of people are saying, yeah, all for inclusivity, but, what about us? Like, you talked of alternative voices there. Like, I know they're very different people, but fundamentally, they represent what percentage of the population? 50%? Now, just because Sinn Féin back Ms. Connolly, it doesn't mean that she gets that 20% support, right? So, like, what percentage do you think of people in Ireland, their views, do those three people represent? Do you get where I'm? It's a poxy question, but I just feel a lot of people watching that and they were like, no, none of these people get me.
Yeah, well, you see, you and I have talked about this before, and others in your programme, about the Jim Gavin and Heather Humphreys are both representing the two biggest parties, and they between them now have, they're only able to get 40% of the electorate, and that's 40% of 59% that actually vote. So if you look out the window there, Greg, and you count every 5 people that walk down the road, there's only one of them now supporting the government, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, not either or, but both. That's all we're talking about here. And Catherine Connolly then is an independent, and she's getting wherever she's getting from. She's supposed to have the support of the combined left, to have 36% of the vote in Dáil Éireann, but she won't have that either, I suspect. She may not. There's dissension within the Labour Party. They voted 60-40 to support her. So you're absolutely right. There's no point saying that the 3 candidates on offer, that 80% of the electorate out there, or the people that they represent their views, because very clearly they don't.
Yeah.
But unfortunately now, Greg, we have the system, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, that lots of others that were bidding for this, they weren't able to get over the they weren't able to meet the bar and get on the nomination papers.
I thought the conversation about neutrality was interesting, and I mean, there was a little bit of rehearsed answers there, and I think as people had to step out of those rehearsed answers, they struggled a little bit. But I think the conversation about neutrality might be the one of all of that motivates people, to be honest with you, to pick a candidate out of those three, because I think that's a big issue to a lot of people, this whole conversation about the triple lock and what that might mean, our actual independence, our actual neutrality, and us using that role. I must say, and I'll be honest, Catherine Connolly said some of the stuff on the show last night that I've said on this programme before, that I think that's what we should actually... But then you drill down with her on that and say, well, do we not take in Ukrainians because we don't want to pick a side politically? Just to use that as an example. But they never went down that route, or those types of questions weren't asked. But did you find the conversation about neutrality at all interesting?
Absolutely, because I noticed that Jim Gavin took definitely the Fianna Fáil line about the triple block, that needs to be dismantled, whereas Heather Humphreys really didn't sort of sidestepped it, but Catherine Connolly was very much of the view that it should be retained. I mean, I'm of the view anyway that it has to be retained. I mean, how in the name of heavens, Greg, can Ireland be sending military deployment overseas to a unit when there isn't an honourable third party that doesn't have skin in the game, that doesn't endorse this? Because we're getting into something then, I know Thomas Pringle put it very well in your programme there a few weeks ago, we're getting into something then that we don't have any international mandate for. I mean, people are talking about our democratic deficit and democratic values, and Dáil Éireann should be able to decide this. Absolutely not. It needs to be something far greater and far wider than this. Imagine us being over, we'll say, for instance, and if the war in the military and the Irish Unifil forces in South Lebanon, and if Hezbollah decided to get, well, they were trying to, but they were put back into their box. But if they decided to escalate the same thing as Hamas did in Palestine, I mean, Irish troops would be right bang in the middle of that. We don't have an international mandate then to be there. And what will we do? You end up taking sides? I mean, the consequences of that would just be too horrible to think, right?
Yeah. I don't. This is just an assessment, and this is my own opinion. I think Heather Humphreys will need to up her game in the next debate, because I think I can say this. It felt to me like maybe she was just asked to turn up 5 minutes before it and, seek to become the president. It's almost as if she was just there by default, that, it may not, when you look at someone and it may not, you get the impression it actually doesn't mean quite as much to them as they're stating. That's probably terribly unfair. She's probably living and dying for it. Don't get me wrong. I don't know how to phrase it. It just felt like she, anyway, go on. She's campaigning hard on the ground.
I was going to say, well, I had to do a bit of homework for this gig this morning. I wasn't like Heather Humphreys. I just didn't turn up and switch on. I had to read a bit of the newspapers and so on and so forth. So I think if you look at some fair-minded independent commentator on this, so Paul Cunningham of RTE said that she was the quietest of the three. She never interjected. She always waited for Kieran Cuddihy to come round to her. And that's fine, but I don't think she's going to get away with that. That's why I mentioned earlier to you, Greg, about the people that weren't there, because Ruth McGuinness wouldn't put up with that. She'd be there, right there, out there, to fighting her point. But I suppose, look, I said earlier on about people voting in a presidential election about their value system. Neutrality is going to be a factor, for sure. And Jim Gavin is trying to equate the point, this is the Fianna Fáil message anyway, that the retention of the triple lock is not the same as holding on to neutrality. But I think that Catherine Connolly is going to be standing on more firmer ground there. And you're perfectly right about Heather Humphreys. But is it in her nature, though, to do that? Because when she was ever in Dáil Éireann doing leaders' questions on the occasion when she was filling in for the leader of Fine Gael or whatever, I mean, there was times that she was struggling very badly on it.
Right. I mean, like, I want to know their views, firstly, about the Irish language. I mentioned that, but its preservation, the enhancement of it, what they might use that role for. I think in terms of the amount of young people that are emigrating, I would love to hear them discuss that, but not get into the housing and the this, that and that, or they could do, but talk about that. Why are so many people leaving? What are the plans, in terms of United Ireland, or what role they may have in relation to that? What bills, if any, they might be inclined. And I know I'm repeating some of the stuff, but there's a lot of Irish stuff that they could probably really have a good debate on. Her views on the German military complex,
But
or any of their views on
Greg,
it.
Yeah, but it's not her fault, because that was the question.
I get you. Yeah, I'm not criticising
it's his
them.
fault. I mean, he came across, as you said, he was very, very. Kieran Cuddy, he was actually very, very impressive in a way. And RTE are doing the next one. I think it's next Sunday night, and whoever's going to do it for RTE are going to have to, because he was actually very entertaining in a way, And what he said, and the wee little acerbic quips he was putting in there, here and there. But you're right. They were dealing far too much with foreign policy issues and save the world issues that had nothing got to do with the president.
And I will say, in fairness to him, Kieran, who I don't know, of course, because of the scale of the show and the people, there's a production team. They were trying to sort of get a situation whereby people learnt more about the candidates, and they picked up, on a couple of key issues that it wouldn't all be down to the presenter. Obviously, he has his input, but a production team decided sort of the tone of that, and he did well within that, if you know what I'm saying. But as I say, it's just, I think there's a lot of topics you could get a really good debate going on that are actually maybe very much directly affecting us here. But anyway, go on, Paddy.
I was going to say that, you see, the remit of the president is so small and so tight that if you confined yourself to the remit of the president, I suppose the debate could last about 20 minutes.
Yeah, but I gave
a lot of things you said.
I gave five or six good subjects there about the future of the language. You could start then digging into accusations that maybe Fine Gael are, not necessarily doing as much as they could, or Fianna Fáil, or you could get into Catherine Connolly about, with the population doubling in the next 5 or 6 years, is it ever more that we focus in? You could get some interesting conversations from her. There's lots there that think you could.
And I promise now, Greg, I'm never going to mention Maria Steen's name again, right?
You can
I'm never going to mention it again, but I just must do it once more. It's a pity she wasn't there, because could you imagine if Kieran Cuddy had asked her, if she was there, which she wasn't, if there was a bill passed by the Oireachtas put in front of you that extended the measures in relation to the termination of pregnancy, what would you do with it? So the answer to that would be worth the TV license fee alone.
Of course, but you also could have asked a similar question to the three that were there on certain matters. I asked Catherine Connolly about the triple lock. Would she refer that bill? She said effectively no. Now, I would think on a national stage that would have been really quite an interesting little debate, because maybe Jim Gavin then could have said, oh, right, okay, so you're a bit a la carte on the triple lock. Do you know, there are questions there that could, and you're quite right, but I also think whether I agree or disagree with Maria Steen politically, and that's irrelevant, there is a large percentage of the population who she would represent. And there's a strong argument that those people should be represented in that debate as well, whether or not you agree or disagree with her. This is a democracy.
Yeah, because you see, there's no point, you made the point yourself very well earlier on, there's no point from me and all the other people that are voters out there that we get a choice with three candidates that are largely representing the same thing. Catherine Connolly is marginally different than the other two. And I said I wouldn't mention her name before again, so I won't mention it, but an extraordinary thing.
Can I just say, keep mentioning the name, because I'm going to get accused of trying to tell you not to, and you know that's not the story here.
But an extraordinary thing, the last poll that was carried out by Ireland now there was about 10 names on it, and the lady we were referring to that we can't mention
Maria Steen, we can't stop it.
But apparently Michael McDowell, it was in one of the Sunday papers, told another politician who told a journalist, so this is secondhand, about the fact that he was concerned about nominating her because there was a chance she could win, even though she was only at 2% in the polls. And he referenced two things. David Cameron stood up at a Conservative Party conference in 2014, and he announced that he was going to have a referendum on Brexit, knowing very well in his soul that it had absolutely no chance of succeeding. We know how that worked out.
Yep.
And when Ed Miliband retired as leader of the Labour Party, and there was 4 or 5 of mainstream leaders there, and somebody decided to throw Jeremy Corbyn and keep everybody happy. Look how that worked.
Well, listen,
So-
if Maria Steen or somebody else was in there last night, it would have shifted the dial. Whichever direction it would have shifted it, it might have made people more passionate to vote for Jim Gavin. I'm not saying it necessarily would have swung all the way to her, but unfortunately, if you are not centre-left, right, you kind of, nothing happened last night that would interest you in the slightest. Paddy, it's always an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for giving us so generously of your time. And we'll chat again. We might check in after the next one. All right, back after these.
The Bank of Ireland in Letterkenny currently has a vacancy for a welcome advisor. Successful applicants will have the opportunity to work closely with personal and business customers and build a career with the bank. Submit your CV to Yvonne Bowl in Bank of Ireland Letterkenny or email yvonne.bowl@boi.com.
Brian McCormick, Sports and Leisure Main Street Letterkenny. Just launched at BMC Sports is the new ASICS GT 2014. Offers pure gel technology and FF foam for that springy feel. New range of Kayano, Nimbus and Nova Blast for men and women. In-store and online. Get your safe size experience at Brian McCormick Sports, Main Street Letterkenny. Or click on bmcsports.ie. Get your ASICS delivered free of charge. Christmas Club now open.
Discover the Address Sligo, your stylish escape on the wild Atlantic Way. Savour local flavours at North Restaurant. Relax in our indulgent spa and thermal suite. And enjoy breaks from just €160 per night. Book direct at theaddresssligo.com.
The address is always the right address.
And now, a look at the forecast. We're seeing lots of wind, plenty of sunshine to come, and a long-term outlook that's bright for Ireland.
At EirGrid, our forecast is for a sustainable energy future. We're upgrading the electricity grid so every home, business and community can benefit. We're powering up Ireland. Learn more at eirgrid.ie.
Self-assessed income taxpayers. The October 31st pay and file deadline is approaching. But if you pay and file through Ross, you will get an extension until the 19th of November. For more information or to register for Ross, visit www.revenue.ie/pay and file. Pay and file on time.
It's CFC Interior's 50th anniversary, and we're marking the milestone with our biggest ever sale, the Furniture Show NI 50th edition. Get bigger discounts, more offers and giveaways across all departments. Only at CFC Interiors, Campsie, Derry, Cookstown and Abbey Centre. Hurry, the Furniture Show NI 50th edition sale is now on.
Get ready, Donegal. The big Highland Bingo Party is here.
On Saturday the 29th of November, the Villa Rose Hotel, Ballybofey, transforms into the wildest Christmas party of the year.
Hosted by me, Keith Fletcher, Lee Gooch and Marty Friel on the decks.
Think festive cocktails, classic party anthems, ridiculous games of course, and mad bingo mayhem.
Loads of prizes on the night with the €1,000 top cash prize up for grabs.
You better be quick. Tickets are on sale. Grab yours on Eventbrite or check out highlandradio.com.
The big Highland Bingo Party. Over 18s.
Ha-ha! It's bingo, but not as you know it.
Cooney's Home Interior's biggest ever floor clearance sale is now on, with huge savings across all departments, sofas, dining, bedroom. Stock must go to make way for Cooney's largest ever Christmas shop. Sofa sets from $12.99, complete bed from $4.99, table and chairs from $6.99. Thousands of euros to be saved. But hurry, only while stocks last. Cooney's Home Interiors Letterkenny Retail Park open 7 days.
She's the Queen of Country and Irish, Margot, live in concert. Catch Margot with the Ryan Turner Band Wednesday the 22nd of October at the Mount Errigal Hotel in Letterkenny, with special guests Shani Cramsey and Damian Davis. Tickets available now at the hotel reception. Call 07491 22 700. Join Margot at the Mount Errigal Hotel October 22nd for an unforgettable evening of music and memories.
Bakery favourites for less dough. Now that's something to value. At
At Lidl, we freshly prepare everything in our bakery every day using the best ingredients for perfectly baked breads and treats at a tasty price. The proof? 3 selected pastries for just €3 with Lidl Plus. Lidl, more to value.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhenney's. With new season styles arriving daily, discover the latest fashion, footwear and accessories for autumn in store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
So it's going to be a dull day. No point trying to sugarcoat it. There will be outbreaks of rain or drizzle. The rain will turn more persistent this evening, by the way, folks. Temperatures 14 to 16 degrees. Now, I'm joined in studio by 2 guests. Billy Bander, a social worker who you'd be familiar with on this programme. Billy, thanks for calling in.
Thank you very much, Greg.
Good to have you with us. And you're here backing up Aidan, who is a young car enthusiast. Aidan, good morning to you.
Thank you.
You are a Lexus owner.
Yeah.
You love the Lexus. You have your own car.
Yeah.
What's it like? What colour?
Red and gold.
Lovely. Modified?
Yeah.
Excellent stuff. What do you... at the moment, though, you can't really use your car because you can't go on the main roads, obviously. You would like to see somewhere where, you know, guys like you, girls like you, not girls like you, but guys like you, and including girls, could get together and just enjoy the cars in a safe environment.
Yeah.
Talk to me about it. Yeah, but I'll tell you, start off with, effectively, you want a place that's safe for young people to diff.
Yeah, definitely.
And there was a spot, wasn't there, at Ferry's Yard,
Yeah.
Which would have been the go-to place.
Yeah.
But it's closed now.
Closed now.
Right, and you're of the view, are you, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I have a fair idea, Aidan, that, you know, certain people are going to take risks anyway to get out in the car.
Yeah.
And that's dangerous in and of itself, isn't it? Billy, it's important, isn't it, that people like Aidan, you know, advocate on behalf of themselves, as well as you being here to support them. Why are you supporting Aidan's calls here?
For simple reasons. First of all, this was Aidan's initiative, and we thought let's support his voice anyway, because normally nobody really listens to the young voices anyway. And so he decided to write to the county council, and then we suggested Highland Radio because he would probably give, councillors as well. And then we thought he would get a bigger audience with Highland anyway. So that's why we wrote to Highland, and we're here now. For them, actually, I think, because I'll take an example on Aidan himself. Okay, he travels the length of the country just to go and see a good diffing event. Okay, they had it in Ferries, and then now it's all gone. He's been to Mondello. Week in, week out, he's probably in Nats Corner. Derry.
And Aidan, down the country, there are safe sort of... Talk to me a little bit about that. What facilities are elsewhere?
Like the likes of Mondello Park in Kildare, there's Nats Corner in Antrim, Derry City Waste in Derry.
And what, you land down with the car in a trailer...
offload it and go different for the day, basically.
Yeah, and it's competition?
No, not really.
Yeah, it's just a space where you can do it. Yeah.
Better crack, yeah.
All right, and it's good for you too, because you don't risk running the foul of Gardaí or anything like that there. You know, you're safe and secure. But there's nothing like that in Donegal at the moment.
There's Manor.
Yeah.
There's Drift Track and Manor, but Ferries you never sat in a queue. Manor you do.
Right, okay, I get you. So this then, I mean, you know, Billy, we have unfortunately a terrible road safety record in this country, and I'm
Very
not
bad.
saying it's all down to, you know, bad driving or anything like that there, but, you know, you need a space sometimes where young people can let off some steam.
Absolutely. We've actually looked at recreational facilities for young people. Okay, even just like summer. Okay, you see a lot of antisocial behaviors because there's nothing recreational for young people. If they can get like ferries, which they all have anyway, you see them coming in from Derry and all that. If they can get ferries and then it is in a controlled environment, I think there'll be less of diffing within towns and, you know, creating, you know, unnecessary...
You know, on the junctions and
roads
and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
Not to mention the noise pollution for people. Now, like, I know people should say, well, you shouldn't do it one way or other, but for some people, their car is everything. They don't go out necessarily, they don't drink.
They put all their money into the car.
Every shilling you get is, right, well, I want to replace that, or I want to do this, or I want to adjust that, right? So... I mean, obviously, you're going to want to use your what you've invested in, Billy.
Absolutely. Look, I think he can speak for himself anyway in terms of noise pollution and all that. Okay, and there's ways in which most of these tracks do it. Okay, would you talk about DT, how they control the noise?
Yeah, like the likes of Drift Track Manor have like full exhaust needed, no limiter bashing outside the track or anything like that.
All right, okay, but is that good enough? Are people happy with that?
People
But I
don't
suppose
really
the
give
noise
in
of in diffing, it's about diffing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, if you're going down Letterkenny Main Street, whether people like it or not, you know, you might be more interested in the sound of your
Yeah.
exhaust. For diffing, it's literally just about the you know, the
Burn
control
off
of the
set
car.
tires,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. All right, okay.
We all run away from that during, you know, the rally and all that.
Yeah.
So you're saying, and we're all saying then, so if you're considering, if a local authority is considering permission or something, think about some of these measures, like quieter exhaust. What was the other stuff you mentioned?
No limiter bashing outside the track.
What does that mean?
Revving. Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff. Yeah. All right. Okay.
And then you can have it to 10 p.m. you know,
Yeah.
You know, in a controlled environment.
Have you had any response back from the councillors you've written to,
No.
Aidan? Nothing yet.
Nothing yet.
All right. Okay. Billy, I think it's important the councillors engage, whether they agree or disagree. Engage.
Absolutely, and they were the first people we wrote to anyway. So, like I said from beginning, we thought, look, let's go to Highland. Maybe, you know, we were hoping that you give us an audience, and which is what you've given us.
Yeah.
And it is for his voice and probably many others anyway, because he goes into these circles and they speak about the same language.
Yeah, but you see, we don't do it on this show, but we can be far too quick sometimes to demonize a certain group of individuals rather than engaging, right? And sort of saying, okay, this is your passion. You know, that millions of euro comes into this county every year with the Donegal Rally, so inevitably people are going to start, you know, loving their cars, etc.
Yeah.
Find it. They want a safe place. They're prepared to, you know, not make modifications to the car if that's what's required. Work with them.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Give them the respect. You know,
it's exactly that. Actually, you see, once I know sometimes we all, you know, given this set of rules to follow, and then you don't follow them. Okay, the limiter bashing and all that. Okay, it's basically maybe something to do with themselves because they do that, and then the authorities are saying don't do that.
Yeah.
And then they go into it. Okay, yes, probably they'll be, you know, they'll take the blame themselves.
Yeah.
But with enforced rules, I think, you know, this industry can actually be.
But see, the way I see it is say, for instance, there was a plague of skateboarders down at the Market Square. Jumping around the place flat out, you know, doing grinds and all that kind of stuff. The logical thing is say, well, let's build a skate park outside the town.
Yeah.
Do you know? Because it gives them somewhere to do that, and it leaves that space there for people to enjoy. That's the normal sort of logical way you deal with things.
And that's how he's looking at it anyway.
Yeah.
All right, Aidan. Well, listen, you know, the message is out there. I think it'd be very interesting, I think, for councillors to engage with you. I think it's positive that you've taken this approach. You just want to be able to enjoy the car. That's one of the most important things to you in a safe, legal environment, and then head home safe.
Yeah.
It's not much else than that, is it? Right. Okay. And Billy, you're backing him.
And I'm backing him, yeah.
And it's not just Aidan. There's lots of other people who, you know, often find themselves demonized, but they just want to be able to enjoy their stuff. Right?
You see it in their groups, you know, when they're chatting, you can tell they're backing each other on this.
Yeah.
Just that he took up the initiative, you know.
Yeah.
To
All right,
highlight
Aidan,
it.
well, listen, we'll make inquiries to the council, and if any of the local authority members are listening, maybe they just didn't see your email or the letter or however you communicated to them, they might want to engage with you or chat to you. I mean, you mentioned ferries. It doesn't have to be there. You know, it could be somewhere else. Who's to say? We don't know. All right, good man, Aidan. Thanks,
Thank
Billy.
you.
Appreciate
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Okay, that's Billy, Aidan there. 086 60 25,000 if you have... and we got that letter was sent out actually on the 9th of September, so we're heading for 3 weeks on and you still had no response, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So there you go. That's that. Right. Just a couple of comments to get through, lads. You can jog on if you want to. You can sit to the end of the show. I don't mind, but I'm finished with you now. Just in terms of the presidential election, of course, says the three candidates said they'd be a president to represent all the people of Ireland. The political persuasion and the policies they support can never represent me. A vast majority don't have a choice in this election if all conscience cannot vote for any of them. The debate was just babble. A few callers saying that they didn't feel any of the three represented them and therefore they couldn't be motivated to vote. A caller says, having watched the debate, I feel no excitement about meeting any of the three of them. At least the former and present presidents felt interesting and worthy of doing their job. And although watching the debate last night, I think that the only good candidate would have been the presenter, Kieran Cuddihy. Well done, Kieran. He was the only one who appealed to me. That's interesting. A caller says, wish one of them had said they're going to get Martin and Harris to sort out the problems in this country instead of flying all around the world. These other countries not interested in them. Jim said on an interview, RT interviews in favour of getting rid of the triple lock. Yeah, indeed, and he stood by that. Listen, loads more of those that I'll carry into the show tomorrow. Thank you so much for listening to the programme, or if you chose to watch it, it's great to have you on board. We'll be back with the show live again, of course, tomorrow morning from 9 a.m.